Yu Jun spent 10 years living in poverty, dreaming only of becoming a class holder so he could give his sister a better life. But on the day he finally enters the beginner dungeon, no one can imagine what is about to happen. After choosing the assassin class, he obtains something practically impossible, an SSS-RANK talent called Honest and Upright, capable of instantly executing his enemies when certain conditions are met. The problem is that Yu Jun is still only a beginner, surrounded by dangerous players, elite monsters, and even a gang that wants to kill him. Even so, he begins leveling up at an absurd speed and eventually faces a level 15 boss alone with nearly 40,000 HP. And when everyone believes he is about to die, Yu Jun finds the creature's only weakness. And that is where the true rise of this kind-hearted assassin begins. In a tavern decorated with red lanterns and oriental banners, the workday is almost over. Two customers say goodbye and a young black-haired waiter escorts them to the exit with a polite smile. He grabs a spray bottle and carefully begins cleaning the wooden counter. This young man is named Yu Jun. Today is his 18th birthday. From this day forward, he can finally challenge the beginner dungeon and officially become a class holder. A man interrupts his thoughts by tapping him on the shoulder. He is the tavern owner, a strong man wearing a red bandana. He says business is slow tonight and tells Yu Jun to leave early to pick up his sister. Excited, Yu Jun thanks his boss and puts away the money. He leaves the tavern behind and walks through the lantern-lit entrance. A distant glow reflects in Yu Jun's eyes. In the sky between the clouds and the full moon, an imposing shrine hovers in the air. The city stretches out below, filled with skyscrapers. Yu Jun looks at everything and thinks about how, without realizing it, 10 years have already passed. 10 years ago, a phenomenon known as the Divine Revelation game descended upon Earth. Anyone who could clear the game's beginner dungeon could obtain talents, items, and skills, becoming a powerful class holder. But the chaos caused by these newly empowered individuals quickly spread throughout the entire world. Countless lives were lost at the hands of out-of-control class holders. Only after the 8 Supremes founded the Divine Revelation Shrine did order finally return to the world. However, the same class holders who had caused that chaos eventually rose to become the ruling elite. They began living in the most luxurious properties in the city, and commanded the absolute respect of the masses, surrounded by guards and private drivers. Meanwhile, Yu Jun's parents fell into an eternal sleep during that chaotic era, never to awaken again. And so, carrying that memory with him, Yu Jun continues riding his bicycle through the city. There is only one path to a better life, Yu Jun thinks as he pushes his bicycle toward a brightly lit convenience store. He calls out to his sister excitedly, Yu Ning. From the back of the store, a voice answers that she is coming. The girl runs through the aisles, shouting brother. With a face glowing with happiness, the two embrace. Yu Jun says he came to take her home, and Yu Ning simply confirms it happily without letting go of the hug. The store owner, a kind old woman, comments that the two are very close and that it is rare to see something like that. Embarrassed, Yu Ning runs away, saying she's going to change. Taking advantage of being alone, the woman asks Yu Jun if she is mistaken. Today is his 18th birthday. She holds out a wrapped package and says it is a gift. Yu Jun immediately refuses, saying he cannot accept it. He argues that she already helps them too much by taking care of Yu Ning, and it would not be right to accept a cake on top of that. From the back of the store, Yu Ning protests that she works hard there and that he can ask her boss if he does not believe her. The woman confirms that it is true. She explains that ever since Yu Ning started working at the store, the monthly profits have increased by at least 30%, and she insists that Yu Jun accept the gift. As they leave, Yu Jun thanks her and says goodbye. The woman warns them to go straight home since the streets are not safe at night. Pedaling through the city, Yu Jun continues determinedly, guiding the bicycle with his sister sitting behind him. He promises himself that he will become a class holder no matter what it takes. The two arrive at a simple building and carry the bicycle up the stairs to the apartment. Yu Jun enters first, followed by Yu Ning, who puts the bicycle away near the entrance. They sit at the table with the store's gift between them. For a moment, both remain silent, simply staring at the box. Yu Jun finally unwraps it, revealing a birthday cake. He smiles, curious to see what kind of cake the owner chose for them, eager to try it. In silence, Yu Jun cuts a piece of cake while Yu Ning simply watches. He holds the plate out toward her, offering her the piece. Eat, Yu Jun says with a calm smile. Suddenly, Yu Ning appears nervous and hesitant. She asks if he is really going to challenge the dungeon. She begins to cry, repeatedly asking the same question. He is not going to enter the beginner dungeon, is he? Yu Jun tries to calm her down, telling her not to be silly. Deep down, however, he thinks that if he does not challenge the dungeon and become a class holder, the two of them will be condemned to live in that rat hole forever. He changes the subject and asks her to give him the gift she prepared for her brother. Embarrassed, Yu Ning admits that she had been listening to the customers' conversations at the store to gather information. She reveals a notebook titled Beginner's Manual, exclusively for my older brother, explaining that she compiled everything she managed to learn about the beginner dungeon. Holding the notebook, Yu Jun hears Yu Ning seriously ask him to come back alive no matter what. Not long after, only crumbs of cake remain on the plate. Already asleep, Yu Ning murmurs in her dreams that her brother is an idiot. Yu Jun watches his sleeping sister and smiles, thinking that she is the silly one. Alone in the street beneath the night sky, he swears to himself that he will return no matter what and give her a life worthy of a princess. Yu Jun arrives at the enormous hall known as the Dungeon Center, where an angelic statue dominates the surroundings. An employee guides him to a glowing portal, explaining that it is the entrance to the beginner dungeon. As a final warning, she informs him that the dungeon's current mortality rate is 70%. She asks him to carefully reconsider his choice before proceeding. Yu-jun remains silent, staring at the portal before him. Without hesitation, he steps forward and passes through the entrance, being swallowed by the light. Inside the portal, two divine figures appear before him, asking him to choose his class. Several options appear floating in the air: warrior, mage, priest, archer, and assassin. Without hesitation, Yu-jun chooses assassin. Amid a whirlwind of data and digital lights, Yu-jun's body begins to transform, enveloped in intense energy that courses through every muscle. A voice echoes, describing the chosen class. The assassin is one who hides in the shadows, a reaper of lives who stops at nothing to achieve their goals, the silent messenger of doom. Yu-jun is transported to a desolate landscape surrounded by dead trees. There he receives his final instructions. He must survive the upcoming test for as long as possible, and his performance will determine his class talent. Determined, Yu-jun clenches his fists, remembering that this is exactly the talent test Yu-ning highlighted in her notes. It is the first trial that will determine his destiny as a class holder. Suddenly, swords appear out of nowhere and pierce through him. Yu-jun is caught completely off guard. Blood flows and the pain is unbearable, but he realizes that his HP is not decreasing. Confused, he wonders if this is merely a test of willpower. He reacts and begins dodging the attacks, realizing something important: the swords can be avoided. However, enduring the pain wears down his willpower, while dodging consumes his physical energy. Yu-jun quickly reasons that either his energy will run out first, or his willpower will completely collapse. Either way, the result will be the same: he will faint and lose consciousness. He continues dodging countless swords raining down toward him. Yu-jun then understands that surviving for as long as possible means only one thing: remaining conscious for as long as he can. Dodging another attack, he mutters that the Divine Revelation game is going to regret this. This time, he warns, they picked the wrong person to mess with. With a firm grip on his sword, Yu-jun leaps into the storm of blades, determined not to retreat. He lets out a battle cry, throwing himself headfirst against the attacks coming from every direction. He acts like a genius, defending himself against all the swords. Standing tall, surrounded by an entire field of swords embedded in the ground, he declares that no one should underestimate his determination to become stronger. Yu-jun stares at the blades before him and wonders if a simple rain of swords will really be enough to break his determination. He shouts, challenging the test to continue, "Bring it on." A new wave of swords crashes down upon him, creating a violent impact. For a moment, everything is chaos and shock. When the dust settles, Yu-jun is still standing, with all the swords on the ground now glowing blue as if they were holograms. Breathing heavily but victorious, he declares that he has come out on top once again. A system message appears before him. Congratulations on perfectly completing the Assassin Class Talent Test. He has just obtained the SSS-RANK talent, honored. Raising his fist, Yu-jun celebrates, proud to have obtained an SSS-grade talent. He mentally promises that he has finally set foot on the path of the strong and that he will give Yu-ning a future worthy of a princess. Enveloped by a pillar of light, his body is lifted and teleported to another location. Voices announce that the gates of divine revelation are open to him, welcoming him to the beginner dungeon. Yu-jun kneels, ready for what comes next. Before him, enormous gates open, flanked by the figures of an angel and a demoness. Walking across platforms suspended in the void, he reflects on the 5 existing classes in divine revelation. Warriors need a strong physique, mages require a lot of money, archers demand extensive training, priests depend on reliable allies. But Yu-jun has absolutely none of that. Holding his daggers, he concludes that his only real option is the assassin class, the path of the lone wolf. Obviously, he is the ultimate Chad, but he had already realized something important a long time ago. Assassins are the strongest class in the early game. A skill card appears before him, displaying the level 1 skill Stealth, which allows him to observe his target from the shadows and accumulate attack power while remaining undetected. The longer he remains invisible, the greater the accumulated attack power becomes. With this skill alone, assassins already possess both the highest survivability and the highest burst damage in the early game. Confident, Yu-jun concludes that in the beginner dungeon, no one will be able to stop an assassin. He passes through the glowing portal and arrives in a new setting, Blazing City Square, a safe zone with a beautiful fountain in the center. Walking through the square, Yu-jun plans his next steps: fight monsters to level up and calmly study his newly acquired talent. Suddenly, a scream cuts through the surroundings. Get lost. Yu-jun comes across a group of hooded men surrounding a brother and sister. The two shout at the men to back off, calling them parasites. Watching the scene, Yu-jun wonders if they are just lowlifes from the gang. The leader of the group, a muscular red-haired man, approaches the girl with a dirty smile, saying that he knows some fun places around there and inviting her to play. The brother steps in front of her, demanding that he take his filthy hands off his sister and stay away from her immediately. Yu-jun watches the situation and concludes that the two of them are in serious trouble. He analyzes the group of bullies. They are weak, cowardly, and afraid of death. They only have the courage to hide in the beginner dungeon and intimidate others. To Yu-jun, they are as disgusting as parasites infesting an intestine. Desperate, the brother eventually charges at the gang leader, who grabs him and threatens him. Does he not want to leave the dungeon alive? Seeing the situation getting worse, Yu decides to act quickly and get them out of there before their lives are in real danger. At the same time, he realizes that this is the perfect opportunity to test the effects of his stealth skill. Using its power, he approaches without being noticed, closing the distance without any trouble. He plans to strike the idiot and flee immediately afterward, drawing the attention of the lowlifes away. Ready to act, Yu plans that as soon as he strikes the leader, the brother and sister will have a chance to escape. He delivers a precise slash, but a system message appears. He is inside a safe zone and cannot damage other players there. The attack simply has no effect, leaving the thug confused. The red-haired man looks around, asking who is there. Surprised, Yu realizes that there really are safe zones inside the dungeon, something he had not expected. However, the henchmen notice his presence and charge at him, shouting for them to capture him before he escapes. Unfazed, Yu thinks it is no big deal. All he has to do is break their line of sight for 5 seconds and he can leap away to escape. The men chase after him, shouting for him to stop and not run away. Yu simply thinks about using stealth again to get rid of them for good. As the siblings escape safely, Yu remembers that he needs to take a closer look at the guide Yu Ning prepared for him. Furious, the red-haired leader swears to find the intruder, refusing to believe that they cannot locate that little. He promises to make the attacker regret ever being born for daring to strike him by surprise. Hidden away, Yu finally breathes a sigh of relief, realizing that he managed to shake them off. Satisfied, he confirms that the assassin class really is the strongest in the early game. Curious, he opens his inventory, remembering that Divine Revelation equips every class with this feature. Very convenient, he thinks. Yu takes out the notebook Yu Ning prepared and decides to carefully study his sister's notes this time. He reads aloud to himself. Safe zones are areas where players are completely unable to damage one another. Now he understands. From this, he can already map out his leveling route. The notebook shows a map with creatures in the region. A lake to avoid between levels 5 and 10, a snake in the forest within the same level range, a castle and a bush that are safe for levels 1 to 5, and a rhinoceros between levels 5 and 10. Yu smiles impressed. Yu Ning's guide remains extremely reliable. He decides on his next destination, the demon sheep territory to the east. Without wasting any time, he sets off. Upon arriving, he spots the creatures. Level 1 little demon sheep peacefully grazing. Hidden behind a rock, he remembers that according to the guide, these creatures are passive magical beasts and normally do not attack unless provoked, but it is still better to be cautious. Calculating the numbers, Yu realizes that his current physical attack is 120 points, while the sheep has 180 HP and 0 physical defense. He concludes that by waiting just 2 minutes and accumulating stealth power, he can take down a sheep with a single precise strike. Doing the math, he notices that each defeated sheep grants 5 experience points, and reaching level 2 requires a total of 100 points. He attacks, killing the creature with a fatal blow and receiving a message stating that he eliminated the little demon sheep and gained experience. But he soon notices a problem. If he relies entirely on stealth for one-hit kills, the process would take a full 40 minutes. Determined to speed things up, he leaps toward another sheep, attempting to attack as soon as he approaches stealthily without waiting for the full duration. The blow deals considerable damage, but it is not enough to kill it in one hit. To his surprise, the sheep turns around and counterattacks the moment it is injured, giving him no chance to finish the fight easily. Yu takes a counterattack, but reacts quickly and delivers the final blow, finishing the creature in a spray of blood. He calculates, a level 1 assassin has only 200 HP. Considering the time needed to recover his health between battles, his leveling speed has barely improved at all. Reflecting on his talent, he reviews the details of Just and Upright, an SSS grade talent. Whenever he performs a fair and straightforward execution, he gains a 100% guaranteed instant kill effect. He concludes that in order to level up faster, he first needs to figure out how to activate the instant kill effect of Just and Upright. Analyzing the previous 2 battles, he realizes that neither activated the effect. It is clear then that approaching using stealth does not count as a fair and straightforward confrontation. Yu reflects. If approaching stealthily does not count as fair and straightforward, then attacking from behind probably does not count either. Even so, he tests the theory and attacks a sheep from behind, since both conditions have something in common anyway. The target never gets to see the assassin. The blow lands directly on the creature's head, activating a critical hit that takes it down with a single attack. Even so, the talent still does not activate. As a reward, he receives a beginner life recovery potion. Frustrated, Yu acknowledges that SSS-grade talents are extremely powerful, but the description of this one is far too vague. He needs to discover the exact activation condition as soon as possible. Watching another sheep peacefully grazing, he gets an idea. Normally, the more information a person reveals about themselves, the fairer and more straightforward a confrontation seems. Determined to test it, he approaches the creature and seriously announces that he is going to kill it. The sheep simply looks at him in confusion, bleeding as it continues chewing grass. Yu attacks anyway, but the result is the same as always. The talent does not activate, and he realizes that the critical hit effect is not even related to striking the target's head. The system confirms Just and Upright was not activated. While drinking the potion to restore his health, he wonders if perhaps the information he revealed still was not enough to make the confrontation fair enough. Determined to go further, he decides to give a full introduction, just like those eccentric and theatrical assassins from movies. Raising his dagger, he formally introduces himself to the next sheep, stating his name and announcing that he is there to kill it. Embarrassed by his own performance, Yu-jun mutters to himself that announcing his name like that is simply embarrassing. The sheep merely stares at him, motionless. Without hesitation, he delivers the final blow, acknowledging that this kind of theatrics does not suit his personality at all. To his surprise, it works. Excited, he concludes that he has discovered the activation condition for just and upright. He must introduce himself and announce the execution before attacking. But a new question soon arises. Does he really need to announce his intention individually to every demon sheep in the territory? That would make the efficiency of the hunt absurdly low. Thinking carefully, he considers one possibility. Perhaps he can announce his execution to multiple targets at once. Yu-jun checks his surroundings and confirms, relieved, that there are no other players nearby. Taking advantage of the privacy, he raises his voice and introduces himself to the entire flock. He is Yu-jun and he is here to kill all of those demon sheep. The creatures simply stare at him, confused by the declaration. Satisfied, Yu-jun smiles, confirming that they all heard the warning. He advances in a single fluid movement, counting each kill aloud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, until he reaches the 14th victim, activating the instant kill guaranteed by his talent with every strike. A system message confirms that his assassin level has increased to level 2. Excited, he becomes eager to continue. Without stopping, he keeps counting 16, 17, 47, 48, until reaching 49, 50. Another message appears, level 3 reached. Out of breath, Yu-jun concludes that as long as the creatures hear his declaration and are eliminated fairly and directly, his talent can lock onto at least 50 targets at the same time. A golden energy begins to envelop him completely. Intrigued, he wonders if this is the event Yu Ning mentioned in her notes. Suddenly, a huge magic circle forms in the sky, reacting to the number of demonic sheep he has already eliminated. The circle shatters in an explosion of golden and purple light. From the middle of the rift emerges a much more imposing creature, the black demonic sheep, a level 5 elite with 1,000 health points and devastating charge and stomp abilities. Yu-jun recognizes the perfect opportunity to finally test the true usefulness of his SSS grade talent in a more serious battle. He stares at the beast and repeats the ritual. He introduces himself as Yu-jun and declares that he is here to kill it. Meanwhile, somewhere else, minutes before this confrontation, a man reflects on the audacity of that boy. He mutters angrily that the kid just offended the boss, yet still had the nerve to leave the city alone to train, far from any protection. Hidden in the shadows, the man watches the battle from a distance. He reflects in surprise that the boy managed to take down a common demonic sheep with a single blow. He must have brought high-level equipment from outside the dungeon. He decides to wait. As soon as they kill the boy, he will steal his items. Suddenly, the beast emerging from the portal leaves him in shock. That is an elite monster. Retreating even deeper into the shadows, he mutters that challenging an elite monster alone with such arrogance will be the boy's downfall. All he has to do is wait for the beast to finish the job and then loot whatever remains. Back at the confrontation, Yu-jun stares at the black demonic sheep. A panel confirms, identity declared, execution announced, direct visual contact with the target. The fair and direct talent is activated. Confident, he thinks that all he needs now is one effective blow, a simple slash to activate the instant kill. But the beast reacts, surrounded by a growing dark aura of power. It charges directly toward him, with an attack capable of dealing 350 physical damage to everything it touches at double speed and impossible to block. Yu-jun realizes tensely that the assassin class's health bonus is extremely low, increasing by only 10% with each level. Being only level 3, he has a mere 240 health points. If he is directly hit by an ability of that magnitude, death is certain. Under this life-or-death pressure, he recognizes that simply dodging is already extremely difficult. And if in addition to dodging, he still needs to attack with a short weapon like a dagger, the task becomes nearly impossible. He barely escapes the charge's trajectory, cursing that this beast also has area of effect abilities. Against an attack with such a wide range, there is no way he can even think about taking the opportunity to counterattack. Breathing heavily, he is only grateful that he managed to get out of the impact zone in time. But the beast leaps into the air, hovering menacingly above him. It crashes down with a stomp, striking an area 3 meters around the point of impact, capable of dealing up to 300 damage and launching the target into the air, with the damage decreasing according to the distance from the center. Yu-jun is violently thrown away, screaming in pain. His health bar plummets to only 30 out of 240 points. He realizes that he was hit only by the outer edge of the impact, and even that nearly killed him instantly. He quickly drinks a potion and restores all of his health. Reflecting, he acknowledges that if he were another assassin relying on allied warriors to hold the front line in the stealth ability, these risks probably would not even be a problem. But the talent he possesses is SSS grade. Surrounded by an intense dark aura, he thinks worriedly that once it is discovered, some guilds could use Yu Ning's life as a way to force him into submission. Barely dodging another attack, Yu-jun wonders if he is destined to face every threat completely alone. A sinister shadow seems to reflect in his dagger, as if a colder side of himself were whispering, until he becomes strong enough that no one else dares to challenge his authority. The monster attacks again with a loud roar. Yu Jun reflects that in order to break through the limits of the assassin class and unleash the full potential of fair and direct, he needs to do two things. First, perfect every one of his movements, turning dodging into pure instinct so that he no longer has to divide his attention between reacting and attacking. Second, find a way to increase his survivability, allowing him to withstand even attacks that are impossible to dodge. With a final blow, he strikes the beast head-on, ending the battle. A system message appears: congratulations on defeating a black demonic sheep alone. He obtains the title Nightmare of Demonic Sheep, which increases his health by 10% and his damage against sheep-type beasts by 5%. Determined, Yu Jun declares to himself that his path to becoming the strongest is decided. From now on, he will prioritize survival above everything else. After all, as long as he can survive long enough to approach the target and land a single effective attack. Raising his fist surrounded by blue energy, he declares that even if it were a god, he would be able to kill it. At that moment, he obtains a rare piece of equipment, the black demonic sheep's cursed necklace. The item carries the resentment of the demonic sheep clan and, according to its description, would transform the user into a docile lamb at the mercy of anyone. Analyzing its actual effects, however, Yu Jun laughs, realizing that it seems more like a blessing than a curse. When equipped, the necklace cuts his physical and magical attack in half but doubles his health, reaching a maximum of 1,000 points. Seeing his health bar jump from 264 to 928, he concludes that with this necklace, his survival rate has increased drastically. Suddenly, his eyes narrow as he senses something wrong in the air. Without warning, a blade pierces him from behind, embedding itself in his chest. The bald king appears behind him, having silently ambushed Yu Jun. He thanks him for his hard work and sarcastically wishes that in his next life, he will remember this lesson before trying to play the hero. Spitting blood, Yu Jun recognizes the man. He's the same one who was pursuing those brothers in the city. He realizes too late that he was followed here and curses himself for lowering his guard. The bald man mockingly asks if he has any last words, offering to pass them on to someone out of pure mercy. With the little strength he has left, Yu Jun whispers his name and swears that he will kill him. The man bursts into laughter, mocking the threat. He explains that although the lives of class bearers are digitized, physical reactions such as severed limbs, bleeding, and the pain from every wound remain completely real. He pushes the blade even deeper, taunting him. With his heart already damaged, how much strength does Yu Jun really have left to attempt a counterattack, relying only on that single forced health point that still refuses to disappear? Yu Jun groans in pain as blood continues to pour out. A dark smile appears on Yu Jun's face as he whispers about the instant kill that is about to activate. He shouts, "Activate," and the talent triggers as he lands a deep slash across the bald man's body. The man screams in disbelief, "Impossible," as he is engulfed by an explosion of blue energy. Surprised by his own power, Yu Jun wonders how a seemingly light attack was capable of causing so much damage. With his back turned and his dagger raised amid crackling energy, he delivers his sentence to the enemy: die. Breathing heavily, he drinks a healing potion and acknowledges that he was careless. He never expected there to be another enemy lying in ambush besides the beast. Reflecting, he realizes that he was lucky. Equipping the necklace and doubling his health caused the enemy assassin to misjudge the situation. Otherwise, he would have been killed instantly. He crouches down and picks something up from the body, remembering that the man mentioned playing the hero before attacking him. This confirms his suspicion. That man was probably a subordinate of the bully he encountered in the city earlier. From the body, he also obtains a new skill, Sword Dance, Level 1, a universal technique that does not require a specific class and enhances close-quarters combat, allowing precise movements to be performed almost instinctively. He opens the integrated communication system of Divine Revelation, remembering that those thugs probably have each other as contacts. When he checks, his own list appears empty, no contacts. Yu Jun considers that if he continues leveling here, he could be surrounded by those thugs at any moment. Standing between two imposing winged creatures, he reconsiders his strategy, relying on his talent to eliminate any target with a single precise blow. Perhaps it would be better to directly face elite monsters above his level, just as he did with the demonic sheep. That way, he concludes, his leveling efficiency would be even greater. He looks at the fallen body at his feet, determined to move forward. Meanwhile, on the road between the city and the field where the bodies lie, another group approaches rapidly. 10 minutes later, the leader of the gang of bullies and his men arrive at the location. One of them informs him that this was the last place where the victim appeared before dying. The leader remains silent, absorbing the news. He wonders, disturbed, what could have brought him to such a remote and dangerous place. A hooded archer explains hesitantly that the boy came here specifically looking for the newcomer who dared to attack the boss earlier. In disbelief, the leader asks if they are really saying that his brother died at the hands of that inexperienced rookie assassin. Consumed by fury, he orders everyone to search for the culprit and demands that they even call in other gangs to help with the hunt. Furious, the gang leader shouts that he wants the culprit dead no matter the cost. The scene shifts to a new setting, the outskirts of ash-filled ruins, a city reduced to rubble. There, a pack of shadowy creatures, the Ash War dogs, emerges from the ruins, their red eyes glowing in the darkness. For a brief moment, a distant vision echoes, the memory of a sacred figure enveloped in golden light surrounded by the chaos of dark creatures, an echo of the ancient battle that gave rise to the sanctuary. Back in the present, Yuzhan hides behind a ruined wall, sword in hand, silently assessing the situation. Determined, he decides that it is time to continue leveling up. Observing the surroundings of the ruins, he spots a lone ash warhound separated from the rest of the pack, the perfect opportunity to test the creature's attributes. Following his ritual, he introduces himself to the enemy, announcing his name and his intention to kill it. The beast reacts, locking eyes directly with him. The just and direct talent activates the instant the hound charges to attack. Observing its movement, Yuzhan concludes that a beast is still just a beast. Its attack pattern never changes, and he can easily predict every strike. Thanks to the demon sheep's cursed necklace, his health is at 928 points. He takes 120 damage, recognizing that it would seriously injure most assassins, but he can still withstand 7 attacks of that magnitude. With a precise counterattack, he takes the creature down in a spray of blood. The system confirms Ash Warhound eliminated, experience plus 20. Yuzhan reflects that since these beasts have such predictable attack patterns, he can dodge them with ease. He calculates that his limit would be facing between 12 and 14 of them at once. Suddenly, he senses murderous intent. Confused, he realizes there was no Ash Warhound behind him a moment ago. Where are so many coming from? More creatures emerge around him, and he notices that the pack in front is also closing in on him. Realizing the trap, Yuzhan understands that lone hound was merely bait and he was the fish they were trying to hook. Smiling confidently, he reflects that trying to catch a shark with a small raft can only end one way, the boat destroyed and everyone dead. He then remembers the item he took from the assassin he killed earlier, a sword dance skill book. This, he decides, is the perfect opportunity to test the new technique. Yuzhan raises the sword of the dead assassin and shouts to activate sword dance. The skill explains how it works, a universal technique that does not require a specific class, capable of drastically increasing close-range combat ability and granting instinctive mastery over the equipped weapon. Facing the Ash Warhound roaring before him, he introduces himself once again, announcing his name and declaring that he has come to bring death. The just and direct talent activates once more. The battle begins violently, cutting the wolf in half amid sprays of blood. Surrounded by the entire pack, Yuzhan defends himself, parrying the attacks of several creatures at once. He advances through the hounds, dodging and attacking in succession without giving them any room to breathe. Focused, his eyes follow every movement of the pack, anticipating their attacks before they happen. More blood splatters as he takes down another hound. He lunges at another target, driving the blade deep into it, dealing 140 damage. The wolf's mouth is full of blood as Yuzhan drives his blade into it. Finally, he stands in the center of the battlefield, surrounded by the defeated bodies of the pack, enveloped in residual purple energy. Without wasting any time, the pack charges with everything it has. With one final and devastating strike, he cuts down the entire remaining pack in a single fluid movement of sword dance. The system announces, "Congratulations, the assassin class has reached level 4. Yuzhan reflects impressed. He fought 13 Ash Warhounds at the same time and was hit only once. He never expected a level 1 sword dance to be so powerful. If he invests skill points and raises it to level 4, he wonders if he could even rival a sword master. At that moment, he notices a skill book lying on the ground. The book reveals the self-healing skill. When used, it teaches the level 1 universal skill, which restores 5% of health per minute while the user is out of combat. Yuzhan acknowledges with satisfaction that self-healing is an extremely practical skill. He equips the new skill, thinking that this way he can save his recovery potions and sell them later when he leaves the dungeon to help support his family. His equipment panel now shows Stealth, Sword Dance, and Self-Healing with only one skill slot remaining. Satisfied with his progress, he decides it is time to find another pack of Ash Warhounds and continue leveling up. Suddenly, something catches his attention on the horizon. Intrigued, he wonders what the hell that is. A new enemy emerges from the shadows, the Demon Hound leader, a level 10 beast roaring with reddish fury. Hidden behind a rock, Yuzhan recognizes the pattern. This is also an elite of the area, just like the Black Demon Sheep, but he notices that the creature is already seriously injured, as if it had escaped from another hunt. He remembers a conversation he overheard at the tavern. If a player kills a monster that is already being hunted by another group, they end up making enemies with that team, which may even pursue them to the death because of it. Cautiously, Yuzhan reflects that all he wants is to become a powerful adventurer and give Yuning a princess's life. There is no need to get involved in unnecessary trouble. But suddenly, the beast notices his presence. Yuzhan is startled, unable to believe his bad luck. He barely manages to dodge its charge, taking 300 points of damage. Annoyed by his own luck, he realizes that his stealth has been broken. With no choice, he warns the beast to run for its life, or else he will kill it himself, activating the just and direct talent once again. Yuzhan shouts at it to stop coming toward him just to die, pleading not to be dragged into the confrontation. The beast charges forward brutally, and Yuzhan realizes too late that the situation has gotten worse. The blow hits him head-on, dealing 450 points of damage, with blood running down his body. Running from the boss, he thinks that even though he has reached level 4, his health is still only 968 points. He needs to end this quickly, as he cannot afford to take another hit of that magnitude. Gathering all his strength, he counterattacks. In one final and decisive move, he drives the blade deep into the beast. The creature's face contorts in agony as it succumbs to the The system confirms, congratulations, he has defeated the demon hound leader and obtained the title Dog Hunter, which increases physical and magical attack by 5% against canine beasts, while also increasing physical and magical defense by 10%. Suddenly, a group approaches. They are the same siblings Jun saved earlier. Yu Jun is startled by their unexpected arrival. Still catching his breath, he quickly explains himself. He did not intend to steal their hunt. The beast simply attacked him by surprise and he only defended himself. He then offers the items the creature dropped, saying they can keep them. The man exclaims in surprise, calling him a hero. Confused, Yu Jun does not understand why. The young man introduces himself as Su Hong and introduces the sister beside him as Su Yue. He explains that they were the ones being chased by those bandits in the city square and that Yu Jun was the one who lured them away and saved them. He seriously asks if Yu Jun remembers them. Yu Jun recognizes the two immediately and comments that in that case he does not need to waste time explaining everything again. Embarrassed, Su Hong lets out a small ah. Yu Jun simply tells them they can keep the items since he is leaving. As they watch him walk away, the siblings talk among themselves. Su Yue notices that he defeated the demon hound leader far too quickly, a sign that he must have some kind of explosive damage ability. If they can bring him into their group, they will have enough strength to challenge the Black Rock Serpent. Su Hong immediately agrees. He runs after Yu Jun, asking him to wait. Yu Jun turns around, curious whether there's some unfinished matter. A little hesitant, Su Hong asks if he would be willing to join their group and face the Black Rock Serpent together. Surprised, Yu Jun questions him. He has not even reached level 10 yet, so I challenge the boss of the beginner secret realm now. Su Yue explains. To obtain the strongest title in the beginner secret realm, the beginner tyrant title, one must defeat all 3 bosses in the area before reaching level 10. Su Hong adds that this title not only grants a powerful 10% bonus to all attributes, but is also a mandatory requirement for entering one of the 10 most important guilds. He insists, trying to convince Yu Jun, a warrior capable of defeating the demon hound leader alone, even when it was already injured, should never let an opportunity like this pass. Thinking it over, Yu Jun considers that there is no way to know whether what they are saying is true, but with Justin direct active, he does not need to fear any kind of scheme against him. Besides, it is a good opportunity to see firsthand how strong a secret realm boss really is, and perhaps learn valuable information that only more experienced adventurers know. Determined, he accepts. He will join the group and face the Black Rock Serpent with them. The two seal the agreement with a handshake. As a welcome gift, he receives the Demon Hound Dagger, forged from the sharpest fang of the leader he defeated, capable of cutting through flesh and bone with ease, a level 4 piece of equipment with 90 attack points. Yu Jun thinks that they had barely formed the group and he had already received this gift. Perhaps he really had been suspicious for nothing. Walking toward a glowing red portal, he reflects that he heard the equipment dropped by bosses in the beginner secret realm is worth a fortune. He will gather information about the Black Rock Serpent first, then perhaps try to complete the dungeon alone and stockpile equipment to At the entrance, a group of stragglers blocks the passage, extorting anyone who wants to enter. Yu Jun realizes that the number of slots for the boss area is limited, which is why those scammers take advantage of the situation to charge a toll. Fortunately, he manages to pass through a blue portal reserved for Su Hong's group, avoiding the extortion and saving a considerable amount of money. The 3 of them move forward together through a dark tunnel inside the cave. Upon reaching the final chamber, they spot the supposed threat, a small coiled snake. Yu Jun finds it strange, thinking it will be difficult to hit such a small target. Su Hong begins explaining the strategy, detailing the Black Rock Serpent's abilities and warning about the moment when it activates rage mode. Suddenly, rocks begin falling from the ceiling and everything shakes. Suddenly, the small snake transforms, growing into a monstrous and dark beast. A panel reveals its attributes. Level 15, 39,000 health points, 10,000 mana, 500 physical and magical attack, 100 physical and magical defense, with devastating abilities such as Meteor Impact, Tail Whip, Frenzied Charge, and Rage. Su Hong blocks an attack with his shield, taking 1,750 points of damage. Yu Jun observes and calculates. A shield warrior reduces damage by 30% and also has at least 300 points of physical defense, negating an additional 300 damage. This means that if that attack from the serpent hit him directly, the damage would exceed 1,300 points. Yu Jun silently thanks himself for joining a group. Already hidden, he reflects that if he had relied solely on the guide Yu Ning wrote, even entering that dungeon at level 10, he would probably have struggled just the same. The beast roars and unleashes another devastating attack. Su Hong shouts, warning everyone to stay away from the stone spikes falling from the ceiling, explaining that they deal area damage when they hit the ground. Yu Jun quickly dodges between the sharp spikes crashing down around him. In the background, the serpent seems to have been struck by one of the falling stones. Su Hong shouts for the hero to remain in stealth and not make his move yet. He explains the strategy. The creature is in a weakened state after using Frenzied Charge, but if it takes damage equivalent to more than 10% of its maximum health within the next 10 seconds, it will enter Rage mode. Therefore, the plan is to slowly accumulate damage first. Once the serpent's health falls to 20%, it will be forced into Rage mode anyway, and that is when everyone must attack together to finish it off as quickly as possible. A brilliant flash erupts. The serpent enters Rage mode, reducing the cooldown of its abilities by half and doubling its strength. Yu Zhen remembers that Yu Ning's guide explained the state in detail, emphasizing that it not only increases the damage of its abilities but also speeds up their cooldowns. Definitely a serious problem. Thinking silently, Yu Zhen considers that just an upright has specific activation conditions, and he prefers not to use it in front of other people so he does not reveal his weakness. He decides that he will need to remove the cursed necklace soon. Otherwise, with his physical attack power reduced by half, he might not be able to kill the Black Rock Serpent in time, putting all three of their lives at risk. But he notices something important. This boss does not attack very quickly. Thus, by activating the instant kill effect of his talent, he could completely ignore rage mode and end the battle with ease. Meanwhile, at the entrance to the Black Rock Serpent's lair, the red-haired boss waits with his group. He asks a hooded accomplice if he is certain that the person they are looking for is really inside, since the target probably has not even reached level 6 yet. He orders the subordinate to go in first and confirm the person's identity, promising to pay him as soon as he returns. Nervously, the hooded man asks the boss to reconsider, explaining that if they are dragged into the fight against the dungeon boss, they will not be able to leave until the creature is defeated. Furious, the leader threatens to kill him on the spot if he does not obey. The subordinate cowers in terror. The boss then turns to the rest of the group, shouting that if they do not obey, he will have all of their families killed outside. Cornered, the men charge forward shouting, forced to enter the lair against their will. Alone, the leader smiles disdainfully, calling them useless trash and questioning whether they really thought they would survive that hell without risking their lives. He reveals his true plan. As soon as the Black Rock Serpent enters its weakened state, his men are to focus all their attacks on it, forcing it into rage mode so that the beast will eliminate those three bastards and thus avenge the death of his younger brother. The hooded subordinate protests desperately, saying that if they do that, they will die there too and that he does not want to die. The boss ignores the protest and threatens to kill him on the spot if he disobeys. With no choice, the leader charges forward shouting that the Black Rock Serpent is weakened and that it is time to attack. He orders everyone to attack while the brothers prepare to do the same. The hooded archer also fires an arrow charged with blue energy. On the other side of the cave, Su Hong is startled by the sudden barrage of attacks coming from outside. Damage numbers explode in the air, and he realizes in horror that the serpent is about to enter rage mode earlier than planned. Zhen tries to understand what is happening. Su Hong quickly explains that those stragglers from earlier attacked from outside. Su Yue insists that her brother use the escape stone so they can leave immediately. Su Hong throws something toward Yu Zhen, drawing his attention. He explains that there is a 10-second delay before the serpent fully enters rage mode and asks Yu Zhen to use it to escape now, promising that they will meet outside. Then the two disappear in a flash of blue light, teleported out of the dungeon. Holding the stone, Yu Zhen reflects in surprise. That is a rare item that allows adventurers to safely escape from a boss fight, worth as much as 50,000 coins each, and they simply gave one to him for free. He concludes that they are definitely worth keeping as allies. The serpent growls, sensing the change within its own body. Rocks shatter around it as its transformation progresses. The creature rises completely, now surrounded by an intense purple aura, its eyes glowing with pure fury. It releases a deafening hiss, and the system confirms the Black Rock Serpent has entered rage mode. The beast abruptly turns toward the group of stragglers who attacked it from outside. The archer screams in terror upon realizing that he has become the new target. Hidden in stealth, Yu Zhen watches the scene and concludes. Because he is invisible, the enraged serpent chose to attack those stragglers first, since they are the only ones visible to it. Amid the chaos, the red-haired boss shouts for his men to follow him, ordering them to help the serpent find the assassin brat hiding in stealth. But suddenly he himself is hit, letting out a grunt of pain and surprise. An arrow pierces his chest and he looks down in disbelief at what is happening. Furious and bleeding, he glares at the culprit, unable to believe that someone would dare do that to him. The hooded archer, the same one he threatened moments earlier, smiles maliciously and reveals that the boss himself has now been dragged into the dungeon boss fight. Without an escape stone, he warns, the leader will not be able to leave either. The archer bursts into hysterical laughter, shouting for them all to die together inside, as the serpent's gigantic mouth opens over him. The devastating attack, Meteor Impact, crashes down on the man, engulfing him completely. Watching from a distance, Yu Zhen smiles disdainfully, muttering that this is simply fate collecting its debt. As expected, with only one target remaining, stealth stops working against the dungeon boss, and the serpent turns directly toward him. Stepping out of the shadows, Yu Zhen explains to himself that before, he had to pretend to be nothing more than an ordinary assassin so he would not reveal how his talent was activated. But now the situation has changed. He prepares confidently, saying that there are no witnesses left. Now it is just the two of them, and the serpent is far too slow to even touch him. Raising his blade, he solemnly declares that for the happy future he and his sister deserve, he will kill the Black Rock Serpent fairly and directly. The honorable talent activates completely. Running toward the battle, he thinks that Su Hong and Su Yue should already be safe, having used the escape stones in time. He notices carefully that after entering rage mode, the serpent's speed has visibly increased, and the cooldown between its abilities has become much shorter. Around him, potions float, left behind by the bodies of the traitors who attacked from outside. He reflects seriously that those conspirators paid the ultimate price for their own wickedness with their lives. Surrounded by the recovered potions, he prepares for the final confrontation, confident. Now it is just the two of them and his class talent is fully active. The serpent lets out a deafening roar. Yuzhan smiles, determined to end this once and for all. The beast charges forward with a brutal, frenzied charge. He leaps through the debris, narrowly dodging the impact. Raising his blade, he declares to the creature that its life now belongs to him, advancing for the final attack. But to his surprise, the strike is blocked. A moment later, the serpent retaliates with a devastating impact, exploding into a violent shockwave. Yuzhan is thrown backward and crashes into the wall. Injured, he reflects he made a miscalculation. The honorable talent is active, but to trigger the instant-kill effect, his attack probably needs to deal actual damage first. He remembers an old conversation from when he still worked at the tavern, listening to other class holders discuss how, no matter how high someone's defense is, it is impossible to completely nullify damage. Quickly drinking a potion to recover, he holds onto that memory as the key to winning the battle. Analyzing the situation, Yuzhan reasons. As far as he knows, the only way to completely nullify damage is through total physical or magical immunity, or through some kind of special mechanic. Suddenly, a tail strike appears behind him, hitting him and sending him flying. He considers, if it is the first case, the best option would be to use an escape stone, retreat, and wait for the boss to reset before trying again. But when the serpent prepares another meteor impact, he reconsiders. What if it is the second option? In that case, he needs to find the key to breaking through that defense. Suddenly, something catches his attention. He confirms with absolute certainty the entire serpent is completely black except for a single tiny white scale. Reflecting, he realizes that from the moment the creature appeared until its rage mode phase, that spot had always stood out from the others. If the immunity to damage is merely a game mechanic, then the weak point can only be that single white scale. Determined, Yuzhan challenges the beast, shouting that he accepts the battle. He swears that it will die by his hands and become the stepping stone toward his new destiny. The serpent responds with another devastating meteor impact. Yuzhan braces himself, tense, waiting for the right moment. The attack crashes down on him with full force. At the last instant, he dodges, spinning his body upside down in midair. He shouts with determination, "Die, Black Rock Serpent." With a precise strike, he drives his blade directly into the white scale. The creature lets out an agonizing shriek that echoes throughout the cave. Yuzhan lands in a crouch, carefully watching the result of his final strike. An explosion of purple energy fills the cave, and Yuzhan panics, fearing that the battle has a second phase. But to his surprise, a gentle voice echoes from the dying creature, thanking him for freeing it and saying that it is finally free. The serpent's body dissolves into light. A series of system messages appears before him. Congratulations on the spectacular feat of strength. He has defeated the brutal level 15 Black Rock Serpent boss. His level rises to 7, and the conditions have been met to obtain the Hidden Warrior title, which grants an additional 415 points of physical attack. Around him, the loot begins to materialize, catching his attention. He picks up a piece of armor glowing purple, surprised to recognize it as a master-grade piece of equipment. The item reveals its details. Forged from the scales of the Black Rock Serpent, it possesses stone-solid defensive capabilities. It grants 400 health points and 60 points of physical and magical defense, along with 2 powerful passive effects. One converts part of the magical defense into physical defense when taking damage, while the other automatically restores a portion of health when it falls below 20% once per battle. Impressed, Yuzhan acknowledges that the attributes are absurdly high for master-grade equipment, and on top of that, it comes with 2 rare passive effects. Excited, he continues searching through the rest of the loot left behind by the battle. Meanwhile, outside the serpent's lair, Su Hong and Su Yue wait anxiously. Su Yue blames herself, imagining that if she hadn't suggested inviting him to hunt the Black Rock Serpent, he would never have been dragged into that danger. Su Hong sighs, admitting that if they hadn't provoked those stragglers earlier, none of this would have happened. Worried, Su Yue notices that a long time has already passed and he still hasn't come out, which means he may not have even had time to use the escape stone. Hesitantly, she asks if they are still going to keep waiting. Determined, Su Hong says they will wait until the light barrier turns blue, marking the end of the battle against the boss. If those bandits come out alive, he will kill them himself to avenge the hero who saved them. Sadly, Su Yue laments that they never even learned his name. Suddenly, she notices the change in the barrier and shouts that it has turned blue. The battle is over. Su Hong immediately prepares himself, warning his sister to stay alert. The portal opens and Yuzhan emerges from the other side unharmed. Casually, he greets the two of them, apologizing for taking a little longer than expected. Shocked, the siblings can barely believe that he is alive, asking how he managed to survive. Relaxed, Yuzhan explains that the boss became harder to defeat after entering a state of rage, which is why it took him a little longer. Concerned, Su Hong asks about the stragglers and whether they managed to hurt him. A little embarrassed, Yuzhan explains that as soon as the serpent entered a state of rage, it ended up eliminating that group first, leaving no survivors. Relieved, Su Hong thanks the heavens, saying that it is an enormous relief. He then hesitantly changes the subject. Yuzhan then reveals that the Black Rock Serpent dropped a priest's piece of equipment. The two react with surprise. Curious, Yuzhan asks the siblings if they would be willing to trade that priest equipment for detailed guides about the other 2 bosses in the beginner dungeon. After defeating the Black Rock Serpent alone, Yuzhan spends quite some time talking with Su Hong and Su Yue at the entrance to the lair. They prove to be good people, and they even add each other as friends through the system. However, since his class talent is not something he wants others to know too much about, Yuzhan ultimately decides to continue on his own, waving goodbye. He later discovers that the two are the children of the leader of the Red Dragon Guild. When they learn that he intends to face the other two dungeon bosses alone, they hand him a detailed guide normally reserved only for guild members. Flipping through the material, Yuzhan realizes that it might be a little too detailed. After reading it, he feels like almost none of the challenge remains. Even so, he thinks that if it helps him return home faster and prevents Yu Ning from worrying, it doesn't matter if the challenge practically disappears. It's better this way. Su Hong also tells him that the major guilds recruit promising talents in advance, providing them with money, items, and equipment even before they enter the beginner dungeon. With the stragglers who had been pursuing him now dead, Yuzhan can finally head to Ash City to improve his equipment abilities and trade with other players. Upon arriving at the city's commercial district, he passes through the bustling local market. He sells part of his loot, displaying horns and materials collected from the defeated creatures to the merchants. At a forge, he negotiates directly with an experienced blacksmith, trading rare materials. Gold coins pour in abundantly as he completes the transactions. As a result, he acquires a new refined dagger and several other valuable items. He reflects that much of the equipment dropped by the Black Rock Serpent requires level 10 to use, but after visiting the city's shops, he finally manages to put together a decent set of equipment. His character panel displays the results. Yuzhan, assassin class, wielding the swift leopard fang blade, wearing the black demon sheep's cursed necklace, and using the dragon lizard's blessing as an accessory. He explains, satisfied that because of his honorable talent, he doesn't have as great a need for raw attack attributes. Therefore, he chose the leopard blade, which grants a physical attack bonus and a wind burst effect capable of instantly increasing his movement speed for 1 second. This greatly improves his overall mobility and makes combat immensely easier. He also notes that the Guardian effect of the Dragon Lizard Scale armor works in perfect synergy with the sheep form effect of the Cursed Necklace, allowing him to gain a considerable shield in every battle and drastically increasing his survivability. With the honorable talent always active, the stealth skill has practically lost its usefulness to him. Therefore, he decided to replace it with another assassin skill called Phase, which temporarily reduces damage received, further increasing his survivability. Alongside it, he keeps quick steps, sword dance, and self-healing. Upon reaching level 5, he gained an extra skill point, which he decided to invest in quick steps so he could travel faster and complete the dungeon even sooner. He also makes sure he has all the necessary potions to counter the control abilities of the blue magic turtle, with his supply completely stocked to the maximum. Confident, Yuzhan declares that he is now fully prepared. The flaming demon rhino and the blue magic turtle, he will defeat them both at once. But as he approaches the battlefield, an unsettling thought crosses his mind. Didn't they say that the Black Rock Serpent was the easiest boss of them all? As he approaches the entrance to the Flaming Demon Rhino dungeon, Yuzhan is surprised by the enormous crowd gathered there, wondering why so many people are waiting. He thinks of Yu Ning, who is still waiting for her brother to return, and decides that he needs to find a way to cut the line and face the boss ahead of schedule. A long-haired warrior approaches and asks if he is alone. Noticing his high-quality equipment, the man suggests that they form a party together, but suddenly notices something strange. Embarrassed, he backs away, asking if Yuzhan is an assassin and apologizing for bothering him. Confused, Yuzhan grabs him by the arm, asking what's wrong with being an assassin and why he is backing away. The warrior slaps his hand away and says that with equipment of that level, how can he not know that no one forms parties with assassins to fight the Flaming Demon Rhino, except among members of the same class? Yuzhan realizes the detail he had forgotten. The Rhino is a magic-type boss, and the battlefield continuously drains health. It is true that assassins have difficulty using their full potential there, but then he reconsidered. Actually, this is the perfect opportunity. He had always found it embarrassing to use the fair and direct talent in front of other people, since it would be easy for them to discover its activation condition and exploit it against him. However, if he acts like a dramatic and eccentric assassin, introducing himself, announcing his intention to kill, and openly approaching the enemy, all those conditions will seem completely normal, even expected, without raising any suspicion. And now, with so many people gathered there, it is the perfect moment to build this dramatic assassin persona. Besides, people instinctively avoid arguing with this kind of exaggerated character. 2 advantages at once. Taking advantage of the opportunity, he pushes the warrior and shouts, asking what's wrong with being an assassin and why nobody wants to form a party with one. Raising his voice to the entire crowd, he asks whether they believe he is capable of defeating the Flaming Demon Rhino completely by himself. The annoyed long-haired man stands up and calls him crazy. Raising his fist theatrically, Yuzhan asks if everyone there also doubts his highness. Around him, people exchange uncomfortable glances, whispering among themselves to avoid looking directly at him. He solemnly declares that today he will prove his worth. Even without anyone's help, he will defeat that pathetic Flaming Demon Rhino all by himself. Yuzhan runs toward the dungeon entrance, his dramatic act in full force. 2 spectators comment as they watch the scene. It has been a long time since they have seen someone so exaggerated and dramatic. Ever since the Divine Revelation game arrived, fewer and fewer love-struck boys like that have been showing up around there. The spectators watch Yuzhen walk away, commenting sympathetically that he is a good kid and that it is a shame what happened to him. Exhausted, Yuzhen reflects that this is the first time he has realized how socially draining and tiring it can be to act so dramatically. But as he stares at the flaming demon rhino in front of him, he concludes that it was all worth it. The beast reveals itself in all its fury, the level 15 flaming demon rhino. Yuzhen prepares himself and solemnly declares that he, Yuzhen, will take it down today. The fair and direct talent activates instantly. The battle begins in an explosion of flames. He counterattacks with his blade wrapped in blue energy. The beast roars in pain from the impact of the strike and is easily defeated. Yuzhen acknowledges that the rhino really is an excellent counter against assassins. In a single direct confrontation, it has already lost more than half of its health. The system confirms the victory. Congratulations on demonstrating divine power and defeating the cruel level 15 demonic boss, the flaming demon rhino. His level rises to 8 and he obtains the Supreme Warrior title, which increases magical attack by 15%. He thinks with relief that it is a good thing the enemy didn't get a second chance to attack. One boss down, now his next target should be the aquamarine demon turtle. The creature soon appears only to be defeated within seconds. Satisfied, he confirms that he has finally dealt with it as well. He reflects. The next step is to use these 3 bosses to quickly reach level 10 and leave that cursed place as soon as possible. The system confirms. Aquamarine demon turtle boss defeated, level 9 reached, turtle slaying warrior title granted, increasing physical and magical defense by 10%, along with the beginner tyrant title, which increases all basic attributes by 10%. Suddenly, an unexpected alert appears before him, leaving him confused. A message reveals hidden conditions have been fulfilled. He receives a rare item called Invitation to the Underworld Trial without understanding what it is. Reflecting, he realizes that he defeated all 3 beginner dungeon bosses alone, and that is how he obtained the mysterious item. The item's description appears. It is a bound and hidden item that cannot change owners and can only be used inside the beginner dungeon. When used, it transports the holder to a secret dungeon called the Underworld Trial, with abundant rewards for those who manage to complete it. He notices that Su Hong and Su Yue never mention this item, and that it requires specific hidden conditions to be unlocked. Greedy, Yuzhen smiles, betting that this underworld trial must hide extremely rare rewards. Determined, Yuzhen concludes. He will use the 3 bosses of the beginner dungeon to quickly reach level 10 and finally face the underworld trial. He relives the battle against the purple beast in his mind, determined to repeat the strategy until he reaches the required level. Around him, a crowd comments, intrigued by his presence. Who could that confident boy be? Is he a reserve member of the elite Holy Pegasus Guild? But the reserves of that guild always enter in teams, so how could he be alone? Another group recognizes him immediately. He is that eccentric warrior who has been attracting attention lately, the madman who defeated the flame demon rhinoceros all by himself. Someone reacts in disbelief, unable to believe what they are hearing. The system confirms his new achievement. Congratulations on demonstrating your strength. He defeated the fierce flame demon rhinoceros, reaching level 10. He also receives 2 skill points, and a message confirms that he is now officially recognized as a professional. A new function becomes available to him. Dungeon Creature Appraisal, which allows him to view the skills and attributes of certain creatures. He then understands why Su Hong's guide was so accurate. These stats can only be viewed starting at level 10. A message asks whether he wishes to leave the dungeon immediately since he can no longer gain experience there, warning that if he refuses, he can only leave through the portal to Ash City. Without hesitation, Yuzhen refuses. He still has many things to resolve before leaving. He chooses between 2 teleportation destinations and considers using the escape stone Su Hong gave him. He confirms he wants to go to Ash City. Already in the city, he declares that it is time to begin the final preparations for the underworld trial. He negotiates at a market stall, receiving a heavy bag of coins in exchange. His new equipment is revealed: the dark bloodthirsty dagger, the aquamarine dragon prison ring, and the shattering black cold stone armor. Satisfied, he confirms 3 master-grade pieces of equipment, all level 10. His survivability is practically at its maximum. With the 2 skill points obtained upon reaching level 10, he invests them in phase and sword dance, raising both to level 2 to increase his margin for error in combat. His skill panel now shows Phase level 2, Swift Steps level 2, Sword Dance level 2, and a new skill called Shadow Punishment level 1, which allows him to attack a target's shadow to deal 10% of the corresponding damage to the real body. He explains that to deal with monsters with immunity mechanics like the enraged Black Rock Serpent, he replaced self-healing with this new ability, giving his attacks more versatility. With his skills and equipment fully optimized, he declares that the time has come to face the underworld trial. He takes out the red invitation and activates it. The paper dissolves into a cloud of feathers and crimson energy. A red magic circle opens before him with feathers swirling around it. Angelic and demonic figures appear once again, marking the opening of the portal as a countdown begins in the air. Before crossing, Yuzhen thinks of his sister, silently promising that her older brother is about to return home. Determined, he moves forward and completely disappears into the red vortex. A welcome message echoes around him. Welcome to the Underworld Trial, a solo dungeon with a total of 22 floors. After each battle on each floor, the player can choose to collect the rewards and leave or continue advancing. Yu Jun appears alone in an ancient arena, surrounded by empty stands in complete silence. A message asks how far will he be able to go. Intrigued, he notices that the system messages here seem to have a completely different personality from the ones he already knew. Suddenly, a sphere of dark purple energy rapidly emerges from a portal. From it emerges a level 10 demonic beast archer roaring furiously, 20,000 health points, 500 mana, 700 physical attack, and 100 physical and magical defense. Yu Jun prepares his weapon, thinking that since he is completely alone here, there is no need to keep up the theatrical act. He will use just and straight to finish this quickly. He activates his dagger, summoning the power of the bloodthirsty blade. A level 10 piece of equipment that grants 360 physical attack, increases agility and speed proportionally to attack while the shadow blade is active, and converts part of the damage dealt into healing for himself. He introduces himself to the enemy, declaring his name and his intention to kill it. The just and straight talent activates instantly. The creature roars, shouting for him to die, and attacks with an arrow. Yu Jun defends himself with ease while activating Sword Dance at its second level, a skill that drastically enhances close-quarters combat, allowing him to execute refined weapon techniques almost instinctively. The clash between the two is brutal, with blood spraying through the air. Victorious, Yu Jun smiles, satisfied with how easily he won. He reflects while looking at the fallen enemy. Investing his skill points to raise Sword Dance to level 2 was definitely the right choice. The fluidity of his movements in combat seems like that of someone who had trained for decades. The system confirms, congratulations on completing the first floor of the Underworld Trial. Would you like to continue the challenge? Without hesitation, he answers yes, he wants to continue. The arena begins to move and he realizes, surprised, that the place functions like a real elevator. The movement stops and he realizes that a new round of challenges is about to begin. This time, two spheres of dark energy form simultaneously, and he wonders if he will face two enemies at once. Two opponents emerge from the spheres, a monstrous warrior wielding a gigantic axe and a hooded spellcaster surrounded by glowing green crystals. Without hesitation, Yu Jun introduces himself to both of them, declaring that he will kill them. The just and straight talent activates once again. He charges forward with everything he has, but the spellcaster quickly attacks, preventing him from advancing any further. Sensing the danger, Yu Jun shouts when he notices a freezing spell forming and quickly drinks a special potion made from the blood of the flame demon rhinoceros, capable of drastically raising his body temperature and dispelling slowing and freezing effects caused by ice magic. Without wasting any time, the other monster charges toward him. The enemy strikes with full force, and Yu Jun dodges between the icy fragments flying around him. Relieved, he reflects that he learned his lesson from the aquamarine demon turtle and prepared plenty of specialized potions for situations like this. If it were not for that, he would be in serious trouble this time. The spellcaster attacks again with magic, and Yu Jun wonders, tiredly, if this is going to keep happening. He activates the ring on his finger, summoning the power of the dragon prison, a level 10 accessory that grants physical and magical defense, as well as bonus health equal to twice the sum of those defenses, along with an effect capable of immobilizing a target for 1 second as long as it is not above level 20. With the enemy temporarily restrained, he unleashes a powerful attack, a beam of blue energy cutting through the air with a roar. Turning around, he declares that now it is the other's turn. Facing the axe-wielding warrior, he confirms, now it will be a direct one-on-one confrontation. The reddish giant brings its hammer down with full force, attempting to crush him. The creature became confused because it did not feel itself hitting anything. Yu Jun dodges, calling the enemy a monster as he advances. Finally, he strikes it directly in the throat, telling it to hurry up and die, thus ending the battle. But suddenly an ice spell is already right before his eyes. He realizes too late that he completely forgot about the second enemy, which has already resumed its attack against him. Thinking quickly, he recognizes that the dragon prison can only restrain the target for 1 second, far too short a time. It is a useful trick in the chaos of battle, but it is not something he can rely on completely. Determined not to let the spellcaster finish the spell, he charges forward with everything he has, activating the shadow blade in swift steps at the same time. The spellcaster's face contorts in terror upon realizing what is about to happen. With one final fluid strike surrounded by blue energy, Yu Jun ends the second battle, slicing through the air with his blade in a perfect sword dance movement. The creature lets out a deafening roar before falling defeated. Yu Jun reflects, at this rate the demonic beasts will only become more numerous. Soon he may even face entire squads with representatives of every class. The system confirms that the bloodthirst effect has activated, restoring 1,500 health points. He reminds himself to remain cautious. He cannot afford to stumble at the last moment. The system confirms, congratulations on completing the second floor of the Underworld Trial. Would you like to continue? Confident, Yu Jun does not hesitate. Continue the challenge. The third floor passes in a blur of frantic combat, with blood spreading throughout the arena. On the fourth floor, he continues fighting the enemies, ice crystals shattering around him with every strike. On the fifth floor, already out of breath, he finally stops to catch his breath. The system displays the rewards accumulated so far. 15,000 experience points, 1 level 5 master grade piece of equipment of his choice, and 150 equipment enhancement stones. All rewards will be distributed automatically upon leaving the dungeon. Would you like to continue? Surprised, he realizes that he had been wondering why he was not receiving any rewards after fighting for so long, even beginning to think that the invitation's promise of abundant rewards was merely a trick. Now he understands the rewards accumulate over time and the system only notifies him every 5 floors. Confident, he continues the challenge without hesitation, quickly advancing through floors 6 and 7 in a rapid sequence of battles. Floors 8 and 9 pass in the same way, precise strikes bringing down one enemy after another. His feet land firmly on the ground, kicking up dust at the end of yet another battle. On the 10th floor, the system confirms the achievement. Congratulations on completing floor 10 of the Underworld Trial. The accumulated rewards total 55,000 experience points, 1 level 5 master grade piece of equipment of his choice, another level 10 piece and 550 enhancement stones. A warning appears, the next floor houses a powerful demonic beast commander. Would you like to continue? Yuzhan remembers something the general store lady once mentioned. Equipment enhancement stones are consumable items sold exclusively by the Divine Revelation Hall, costing 20,000 coins each. He quickly calculates, if he left now, wouldn't that already make him a multimillionaire? Torn between continuing or stopping, he considers, with his current equipment, he can earn more than 10 million in just 2 hours. If he becomes even stronger, could he earn even more and even faster? Determined, he states that he has already made his decision. He wants to see the limits of his own potential. Shouting the name of the game that changed his life, he chooses to continue the challenge, pressing the option without hesitation. Purple flames explode, engulfing the entire arena. A colossal shadow rises from the flames, and Yuzhan can barely believe the size of the creature before him. The commander raises his bone-studded club, releasing a deafening roar that echoes throughout the arena. Its complete stats are revealed. The level 20 demonic beast commander possesses 80,000 health points, 10,000 mana, 1,200 physical attack, and 500 magical attack, along with 500 physical and magical defense. Its abilities are devastating. A spinning strike capable of knocking away all targets within a fan-shaped area, a field of bone spikes that immobilizes anyone within its range, and one final terrifying ability. When its health falls below 50%, it instantly summons 10 common demonic beasts and 5 elite ones to reinforce the battle. Analyzing the stats, Yuzhan recognizes high attack, high defense, plenty of health, and 2 area control abilities. To make matters worse, it summons reinforcements as soon as its health is cut in half. Even so, he confidently assesses, unfortunately for the commander, it is nowhere near the threat level of the enraged black rock serpent. He charges toward the commander. He introduces himself to the enemy, declaring his name and his intention to kill it. He quickly calculates, as long as he can hit it before it uses any ability, that beast's life will last only an instant. Activating the Shadow Blade in swift steps at the same time, he charges forward. The gigantic club covered in spikes looms threateningly over him. With agility, he manages to dodge, but only barely. He realizes in surprise, despite being so huge and clumsy, that commander is incredibly fast. The beast raises its club again, roaring furiously before striking once more. A magic circle forms beneath Yuzhan's feet, completely catching him off guard. In panic, he realizes he will not be able to dodge in time. With no other choice, he activates Ethereal Form, a level 2 ability that temporarily places his body in an ethereal state, reducing the damage received by half at the cost of 30 mana points. A massive explosion erupts beneath his feet. He is struck, spitting blood from the impact. Relieved despite the pain, he realizes he was lucky to have invested in raising Ethereal Form to level 2. If it weren't for that, he would have been caught completely off guard. Standing up with the blade in hand and smoke rising from the previous impact, he regains his composure. Observing the enemy's enormous size, he admits that he never expected to face such a massive opponent, the kind extremely difficult to approach. Determined, he concludes that in this case it is time for his other trump card to make its appearance. He bites open a small red vial hidden in his glove and drinks its contents in one gulp. The commander roars, charging at him with all his monstrous strength. Yuzhan reacts instantly, activating Shadow Blade in swift steps once again. He easily dodges the attack and continues advancing. Yuzhan reflects in the middle of the battle. This ability was originally prepared to deal with bosses based on mechanics, such as the Black Rock Serpent in Rage. The commander smiles confidently, unaware of what is about to happen. The protagonist advances across the monster's gigantic throne. But now Yuzhan realizes in surprise that it is producing a completely unexpected effect. The ability reveals itself, Shadow Punishment Level 1, which attacks the target's shadow and deals damage equivalent to 10% of the damage inflicted on the actual body. Proudly, he raises the dagger, confirming, spending 100,000 coins to replace self-healing with Shadow Punishment was the best decision he has ever made. The commander screams as if begging him to stop. Yuzhan shouts, sentencing him to die under an attack worth 100,000 coins. He raises the blade, taunting him. Forget about some demon beast commander, everyone here is just going to become experience and items for him. The instant kill message appears in the air, marking the final blow. The creature lets out one last agonizing scream before completely succumbing. The system confirms the victory. Congratulations on defeating the demon beast commander. He gains 20,000 experience points, 3 level 15 master grade pieces of equipment of his choice, 100 enhancement stones, 10 evolution stones, and a lucky charm. In addition, he earns the title Underworld Apostle, which increases 3 attributes of his choice by 20%. The system asks whether he wishes to continue the trial. Without hesitation, he confirms he will continue the challenge. On the new floor, however, a strange silence takes over the environment. Curious, he wonders why no monster has appeared this time. Suddenly, something whizzes past his head. He looks up, barely dodging it. An impact explodes on the ground right behind him. He realizes then the enemies have already appeared. They are simply hidden, attacking from a distance. Without hesitation, he declares to the invisible enemy monsters Yuzhan has come to exterminate them. The just and direct talent activates once again. From above, a demonic elven archer reveals herself. Level 10, 100,000 health points, 800 mana, 1,500 physical attack, no physical defense, and 400 magic attack and defense. Her ability Rapid Barrage allows her to fire a massive number of arrows instantly. Running toward the archer, Yuzhan knows he needs to end this quickly. He activates resistance and swift steps at the same time. The elf fires an impressive rain of arrows, covering the entire area around her. Without hesitation, he activates ethereal form to pass through the attack. He assesses the situation while moving. It looks terrifying, but with the bonuses from his abilities and equipment, this level of attack can be completely ignored. He concludes dodging and deflecting the arrows with ease. With a precise strike, he hits her directly, blood spraying from the impact. She screams as she is engulfed by an explosion of purple flames, the final blow sealing her defeat. A new portal opens, asking whether he wishes to continue the trial. He notices that its frame has 10 slots. Reflecting, he understands, the frame that suddenly appeared has 10 slots, which means he still needs to defeat 9 more enemies like that one. Determined, he declares that he will continue the challenge. Suddenly, a creature leaps at him, screaming for his death, a red-eyed elven assassin appearing out of nowhere. Caught off guard, Yuzhan reacts too late, being struck and thrown away. The creature smiles maliciously, whispering for him to die as it drives a sword through the protagonist's chest. Wounded, Yuzhan realizes with alarm. It is an assassin-type monster capable of becoming invisible. Reacting quickly, he backs away from the enemy and activates ethereal form. He introduces himself to the monster, declaring his name and stating that he will kill it today. The just and direct talent activates once again, but the assassin simply disappears again, becoming invisible in the middle of the battle. Breaking into a cold sweat, Yuzhan recognizes the situation. The enemy has monsters capable of becoming invisible, and this is exactly what his earlier preparations will finally be useful for. He reveals 2 stored items, a flask of flammable oil that shatters upon impact, and a vial containing flaming demon rhino saliva capable of igniting violently upon contact with air. Locating the target, Yuzhan charges forward with everything he has, activating Shadow Blade and swift steps ready to deliver the decisive blow. Using the monster's shield as support, he leaps and cuts off the enemy's head. As he falls, he throws the 2 stored vials directly at the invisible enemy. The fiery explosion illuminates the entire area, and Yuzhan finally locates the hidden silhouette within the flames, declaring that he has finally found it. In the middle of the battle, he reflects. As expected, indirect damage caused by items such as potions cannot activate the instant kill effect. This confirms his theory, only a direct attack counts. He advances through the flames, driving his blade directly into the revealed enemy. An explosion of purple energy takes over everything, sealing the final confrontation of the battle. A new portal opens, asking whether he wishes to continue the trial. He walks toward the passage, declaring that he wants to continue. He's curious to discover how many floors this dungeon actually has and how much more good stuff it can yield. A message reveals he has reached the 22nd floor of the Underworld trial. Behind that door awaits an extremely powerful boss, the Demon Elf Commander, level 20. The system warns him he has already obtained a massive amount of rewards and asks whether he still wishes to continue. Without hesitation, Yuzhan confirms that he will continue the challenge. The golden gates open before him. A blinding light completely overwhelms him, forcing him to shield his eyes, bothered by the intensity of the glow. Before him, an immense golden hall is revealed, with columns disappearing into the darkness of a vortex above. Sitting on a radiant throne, an ancient and imposing figure wrapped in feathers and celestial robes declares that after so many years, a second human has finally appeared before him. Yuzhan is startled by the revelation. Surprised, he asks whether that creature can actually communicate with him. The being with long golden hair replies with a dark smile. Whether he is capable of communicating or not, does it really make any difference? In the end, Yuzhan will also be defeated by him and leave with his tail between his legs, just like everyone else. Defiantly, Yuzhan declares that he will not fail. The figure sighs, muttering that after only a few words exchanged, he already feels like he is losing control of himself. Then an overwhelming explosion of purple and dark energy erupts from his body, engulfing the entire golden hall in a whirlwind of uncontrolled power. The being declares disdainfully that since Yuzhan believes he can defeat him, then he should come at him with everything he has. He challenges him to step over his own corpse to become stronger. His complete statistics appear in the air. The level 20 Demon Elf Commander possesses 400,000 health points, 10,000 mana, 2,500 physical and magical attack, and 700 physical and magical defense. His abilities are terrifying: Death Curse, capable of instantly dealing true damage equal to 90% of the target's current health; Burial, which deals true damage equal to 20% of the health already lost; and Sovereign's Blessing, which instantly doubles his defenses once his health falls below 50%. Yu Jun reacts, shocked by the power revealed before him. The commander raises his voice, declaring that no one can challenge his authority. Breaking into a cold sweat, Yu Jun reflects. Until a moment ago, that being seemed like nothing more than a friendly and communicative NPC, but suddenly he had transformed into a battle boss. Could the game be hinting at something deeper? The commander raises his hands, declaring that he will cast Death Curse upon him, condemning him to an eternal sleep. Alarmed, Yu Jun sees the dark energy rapidly approaching. He screams and curses, instantly activating ethereal form. The system confirms the effect of the enemy's ability: instant true damage equal to 90% of the target's current health. Already wounded and lying on the ground, Yu Jun realizes he was lucky that ethereal form reduced the damage received by half, even working against true damage. If it weren't for that, he would never survive the next ability. The system reveals the second technique, Burial, which deals true damage equal to 20% of the target's already lost health. Before a floating coffin, the commander declares that the rebel's soul will sleep there forever. Without hesitation, Yu Jun introduces himself, activating his talent as he declares that he, Yu Jun, has come to kill the demon elf commander. Shadow Blade and Swift Steps activate together with the Just and Direct talent. The commander counterattacks with a devastating blow, shouting that he is the king of that realm. Yu Jun is hit directly, groaning in pain from the impact. Even while wounded, he quickly reflects. That ability is not capable of killing him on its own. Instead of continuing to dodge, he decides to simply charge straight at the enemy. He gets closer and closer, determined, feeling that he only needs a little more distance to land the final blow. The commander screams furiously, declaring that the rebel will die right there, unleashing a colossal attack in the shape of a dark scythe. Gravely wounded, with his health bar almost depleted, Yu Jun continues advancing, confirming that he is fine and that, as he expected, that attack was not enough to kill him. With his blade finally within reach of the enemy, he declares grimly, "Rest in peace." The commander reacts in panic, extending his hand in a desperate gesture, too late to stop the attack. The decisive attack lands. Instant kill confirmed, ending the most difficult battle Yu Jun has faced so far. Already defeated, the commander smiles, almost at peace, acknowledging that Yu Jun defeated that unworthy king. He continues, his voice weakening. After enduring millions of years of torment, he is finally free. Confused, Yu Jun wonders why that scene is identical to the one involving the Black Rock Serpent. Could there be a hidden story behind all of this? The dying spirit continues, almost whispering. Yu Jun is the most talented among all of humanity, and he must strive to become stronger and stronger. He pleads, his voice already dissolving into light, that Yu Jun not end up like them. Reflecting on the scene, Yu Jun concludes, perhaps the Divine Revelation game is using these moments to convey a clear message to the class holders, warning them that they must become stronger or bad things will happen. Could this be the true meaning behind it all? A system message appears, confirming the victory. Congratulations on defeating the level 20 Demon Elf Commander. He receives 50,000 experience points, 3 level 15 epic pieces of equipment of his choice, 500 enhancement stones, 50 evolution stones, 5 lucky charms, and an invitation to the Underworld Abyss. A second message appears, congratulations on completing the 22nd floor of the Underworld Trial. He earns the title Underworld General, which increases 3 attributes of his choice by 50%. The system instructs him to enter the portal, claim all the conquest rewards, and leave the dungeon. He advances, passing through the glowing passage. In a new chamber, he is instructed to open the chest before him to claim his final rewards. The same angelic and demonic figures from before are waiting beside an imposing golden chest. His hand slowly approaches the chest's lid. Memories of his entire journey pass through his mind. The battle against the serpent, the rhino, every battle up to that moment. He thinks emotionally that after so much time, his wish is finally about to come true. His hand finally touches the chest, releasing an explosion of golden brilliance. A colossal wave of red and blue energy erupts from inside the chest, engulfing the entire chamber. More colors explode around him in a chaotic whirlwind of rewards materializing. Surprised, he watches a red flame condense into a glowing crystal before him, wondering what it is. A final explosion of golden and pink light illuminates the entire room, with a crystal forming in the air. The system confirms, congratulations on completing the Underworld Trial. He has accumulated 280,000 experience points. A sequence of levels rises around him, culminating in a final message, congratulations on reaching level 16. Excited, he reflects. Now that he is level 16, he can finally use those 3 epic pieces of equipment he obtained. The system asks whether he wishes to select his underworld equipment now. Without hesitation, Yu Jun confirms that he does. Surrounded by an infinite number of glowing options, Yu Jun wonders in surprise what all of this is. The system asks him to select his desired weapon from a massive grid of curved blades. Faced with so many options, he realizes that it is going to take quite a while to choose. As he decides, his thoughts drift toward home, hoping that Yu Ning isn't crying her eyes out from worrying about him. Back in the city at the convenience store, Yu Ning works normally, greeting a customer with an automatic welcome. She hands over the requested potions, confirming the purchase of 6 bottles in total for 600 coins and thanking him for his patronage. The customer says goodbye and she waves, asking him to come again. As soon as he leaves, however, her expression changes and she falls silent, worried. Her boss tries to calm her down, saying that she doesn't need to worry since her brother is smart and trustworthy and is certainly fine. Yu Ning murmurs a hesitant but. Still with her heart heavy, she looks out the window, watching the sun set, worry written all over her face. When she looks to the side, she sees a figure and thinks it is a new customer, so she welcomes them. Only then does she realize something, her eyes widening in surprise. Unable to contain her emotions, she bursts into tears, covering her mouth with her gloved hands. At the door, looking a little embarrassed, Yu Jun scratches his head, asking if he took too long this time. Already walking together through the city, Yu Jun says that he managed to complete the underworld trial without any major setbacks and safely left the beginner dungeon. He reveals in his thoughts that a system message had informed him that his exceptional performance placed him second in the talent ranking, asking whether he wanted to make his identity public. Without hesitation, he chose to keep everything secret, explaining that, to prevent anyone from discovering the exact details of his fair and direct talent, he chose to hide his identity from that ranking. On a huge billboard in the city, advertisements for elite guilds such as Crimson Cavalry, Pegasus, and Embrace Happiness spread across the landscape. He recognizes that this decision may make it much harder for him to enter a professional guild in the future, but considers it a necessary sacrifice for his and his sister's safety. At the official auction hall of the Divine Revelation Temple, he registers his surplus items, knowing that the institution charges a high 40% fee, but recognizing that it is the safest way to quickly sell a large amount of equipment. After selling everything he could not use, the balance in his account finally reaches a number he would never have dared to imagine before. Radiant with happiness, Yu Ning runs excitedly through a luxurious shopping mall with Yu Jun. Now dressed in a handsome suit, the two finally free to dream about the future they had always wanted. Playfully, Yu Jun covers Yu Ning's face with a giant stuffed tiger, pretending to roar. The two laugh, carefree and happy. Yu Jun reflects with satisfaction. He can finally buy whatever he wants without worrying about the price. The two stroll through a charming cafe in the city. Faced with a delicious dessert, he thinks, simply completing the beginner dungeon has completely changed his life and that of his little sister, whom he affectionately calls Yuyu. In a sequence of new outfits, Yu Ning appears stunning in an elegant red dress, then in a casual and delicate look, and finally in a relaxed urban style, enjoying each new outfit as if she were daydreaming. Loaded with shopping bags with the tiger backpack on his back, Yu Jun watches his sister while thinking aloud that, if he gets even stronger in the future, he will probably have to carry even more shopping. He sighs resignedly but is visibly happy about the situation. Back at the convenience store, the two give their boss a wrapped box as a gift, thanking her for taking care of them all those years. Moved, she downplays the gesture, saying that the two of them are still just children to her. At the tavern where Yu Jun used to work, his former boss celebrates excitedly, proudly declaring that his humble establishment has finally produced a true professional. Playfully, he warns him while patting Yu Jun on the shoulder. From now on, if anyone dares to cause trouble in his establishment, he will be the one who has to settle the fight. Watching from a distance, Yu Ning grumbles worriedly that the boss is going to be a terrible influence on her brother. A taxi waits to take them home. Inside the car, exhausted, Yu Ning eventually falls asleep against her brother's shoulder, her breathing heavy and tired. Yu Jun smiles, tenderness in his eyes, murmuring about how impossible that girl is. He reflects affectionately, she probably has not been sleeping properly for days, worried about him. Beside him, she sleeps deeply, peaceful for the first time in a long while. Back home, he carries her on his back, balancing all the shopping bags and the tiger backpack as he carefully climbs up to the apartment. He gently lays her down on the bed where she continues sleeping, completely surrendered to her rest. Yu Jun turns to leave the room quietly, careful not to wake her. Before he leaves, his sister grabs his shirt. He turns around to see what she wants. Yu Ning reaches out her hand and weakly murmurs, calling for her brother. Touched, he settles down beside her, softly saying that everything is fine and that her big brother will stay there until she falls asleep again. The scene shifts to another part of the city, the imposing Pegasus Tower. Inside the office of the leader of the Sacred Pegasus Guild, a subordinate bows nervously, apologizing. He explains that because the other party completely hid their identity, they have been unable to obtain any updates so far. A heavy silence answers from across the room. Then a calm and threatening voice breaks the silence, telling him not to worry and that he is not going to eat him. The leader's profile is revealed. Long Yue, commander of the Sacred Pegasus Guild, an immortal elegy class, an evolution of priest after progressing through High Resurrection Priest. He calmly explains that he was only asking for an update, curious about how difficult it would be to track someone who had completely hidden their identity. Then he smiles, revealing that he already knows the answer. Relieved, the subordinate thanks him, bowing even deeper. Coldly, Long Yue replies that there is no need to thank him since he did absolutely nothing for him. He then throws a sinister blue flame at the subordinate. The subordinate is engulfed by the flames, screaming in unbearable agony. The skill is revealed, Song of Agony, capable of temporarily releasing a tormented spirit from the underworld and binding it to a nearby target, inflicting extreme pain and torture and leaving the victim completely unable to act for 30 seconds. Long Yue watches the scene with absolute calm as the sound of a notification echoes from his phone. Without emotion, he orders someone to bring people in to clean up that trash in his office. A cleaning team dressed in chemical protective suits arrives at the scene, pushing a cart with a disposal container. As they collect the body, Long Yue is impressed. A completely new SSS grade talent, and yet it has already managed to enter the top 50 of the talent ranking right from the start. Sitting at his desk, Long Yue reflects. The last time something like this happened was when Zhu Ji, the founder of the Divine Revelation Temple, first became a professional. The team leaves, respectfully saying goodbye to their leader. Alone, Long Yue stands up, pondering, why would someone with such immense power choose to hide in the shadows? He recalls the legend known to everyone. When Zhu Ji completed the beginner dungeon, he ranked 43rd in the talent ranking and made his identity public, allowing him to gather countless geniuses and establish the Divine Revelation Temple. Standing before the majestic building rising in front of him, Long Yue remains silent, arms crossed, lost in thought about the mysterious talent that refuses to reveal its face. Long Yue continues his reasoning, reflecting that he does not believe anyone would give up such a great opportunity. Unless he continues, that talent carries a massive and undeniable flaw, something that once discovered by everyone would render it completely useless. Extending his hand toward the image of the imposing Divine Revelation Temple, he reflects, if he can bring that talent under his control, his sacred Pegasus Guild could become the next great Revelation Temple, perhaps even surpass it completely. He smiles, satisfied with the idea, what a perfect piece for his game, and the first step is finding that piece. He recalls, when Zhu Ji first entered a hidden dungeon called the Underworld Trial, he obtained a level 5 master-grade piece of equipment. Since then, no one has ever seen another piece of equipment of that level. Therefore, he decides to act. He instructs a subordinate to spread a message across the official professional forums, announcing that someone is buying level 5 master-grade equipment for 100 million coins each. If anyone wants to sell, they should contact him immediately. The subordinate obediently confirms that he understands the order. Alone, Long Yue mutters to himself, the hook is ready and the bait is generous. Now he concludes all that remains is to wait for the fish to bite. Back at the small apartment, Yu Jun sleeps soundly against the bed, snoring softly. Dressed in an apron, Yu Ning gently wakes him, telling him that it is time to eat. Still sleepy, Yu Jun asks in confusion what time it is. She replies that it is 6:30 and tells him to hurry up and wash his face and brush his teeth, since she still needs to catch the bus to school. He simply agrees, resigned. At the table with bread, eggs, and milk served, Yu Jun is puzzled, asking if they did not buy food the previous day. Yu Ning explains that it is better to eat something light in the morning as it is easier on the stomach. She quickly finishes eating, declaring that she is already full. Running to the door, ready for school, she says that she is going to catch the bus and reminds her brother that today it is his turn to wash the dishes. Smiling, Yu Jun accepts the task without complaining, saying that he will take care of it. Water runs from the faucet as he begins washing the dishes, the simple life they have always known continuing its course behind all the power he has acquired. In a moment of silent reflection, Yu Jun remembers, when he and Yu Ning were still very young, both of their parents died, victims of the chaotic era that followed the emergence of the first-class carriers. As he washes the dishes, a sad smile appears on his face, along with the memory of the two children taking refuge amid the flames of that distant past. To help support the household, he worked 3 part-time jobs at the same time, while Yu Ning worked at the grocery store every day after school. He continues washing the dishes, exhausted but resigned to their usual routine. But he reflects, looking at his own reflection in the plate. Now that he has become a professional, things should not continue the way they always have. Sitting at the table with his phone in hand, he considers, the place where they live is still too far from the school. She needs to arrive by 8 but has to wake up before 6. He decides that he will start changing that right now. A few minutes later, he reacts in shock at the screen, 1 million per square meter. He risked his life in those dungeons just to make enough money for a living room. Why is real estate near Shenbei School so expensive? Determined, he slams his fist on the table. No, he needs to buy a house there for Yu Ning's health. He remembers the resources he has available. He received 3 epic pieces of equipment of his choice as a reward from the Underworld Trial, more than enough to carry him to level 20. That means he can simply sell the remaining master-grade equipment. This time he decides to go straight to the forums and find someone for a private transaction. Without the Divine Revelation Temple charging a 40% fee, he will definitely get enough money. When he opens the trading app, he finds a pinned advertisement at the top of the trading hall. Someone is buying level 5 purple equipment with cash for 100 million each through an in-person transaction with immediate payment. He reacts in shock, 100 million. Intrigued, he wonders, even though it is purple equipment, how could a level 5 item be worth 100 million? Excited, he wonders if he has really found a gold mine, looking at his own level 5 items floating before him. But he quickly controls himself, trying to calm down. Yu Jun, calm down, calm down. There is no such thing as a free lunch in this world. There must be a trap behind this. He decides to leave and find a way to obtain an anonymous account without identity verification to test the waters safely. Putting on his coat, he thinks, if the other party has ulterior motives, he at least needs to find a way to expose their identity first. Confidently, he smiles, determined. As soon as he confirms that it is safe, he will finally have the money for the house. He arrives at the imposing professional communication center of the Divine Revelation Temple. Walking through the place, he reflects smugly, unable to believe that someone would actually prepare equipment in advance just to challenge the underworld trial. 100 million each, he calculates. That means 300 million in profit from this deal alone. Walking through the hall, Yu Jun thinks, if this deal works out, he can open a small shop for Yu Ning. That way, even if something happens to him in a dungeon in the future, she will still be able to support herself. Suddenly, a huge bald man wearing sunglasses approaches, saying that someone wants to speak with him and asking him to come along. Yu Jun is startled by the sudden approach. Alarmed, he reflects. He carefully hid his name in the talent ranking and used an anonymous account on the forums. Logically, he should be completely invisible to the Divine Revelation Temple, so why is he being approached by one of their security guards? The man insists, asking him to cooperate. Internally, Yu Jun refuses. No matter who this other person is, he cannot let himself be led around by the nose. He needs to find a way to take control of the situation. He raises his hand, politely refusing, saying that he has other matters to take care of. His phone rings and he answers cautiously. A voice on the other end of the line warns him, if he does not want the secret of fair and direct to be exposed, he had better go with the security guard. Shocked, Yu Jun freezes upon hearing the threat. He demands to know who is speaking. The voice only replies that he will find out once he arrives, assuring him that if they wanted to hurt him, they would not have gone through the trouble of arranging all this. Thinking quickly, Yu Jun realizes the gravity of the situation. This person can command the employees of the Divine Revelation Temple itself, and knows exactly that he is the owner of the fair and direct talent. It seems he has no choice but to accept the meeting. He turns around and agrees to follow him. The security guard confirms, asking him to come along. As they walk together, Yu Jun thinks to himself, he can sell the equipment at any time, but his identity can never be exposed. Elsewhere in the building, the scene changes. Long Yue is questioning whether it was not confirmed that the target had switched to an anonymous account, that the conversation had gone well, and that he was already on his way. He asks where he is. Nervous, a subordinate panics, swearing on his doctorate in psychology that the person definitely believed his story and was preparing to come there for the in-person transaction. With icy calm, Long Yue replies that it is fine and that even a doctor of psychology can be deceived. Desperate, the subordinate begs for another chance, swearing that he can still fix the situation. Long Yue raises his hand, grabbing his subordinate's head as purple energy forms around him, coldly declaring that opportunities are reserved only for those who are prepared. The subordinate panics, realizing too late what is about to happen. The blow strikes him directly, knocking him to the ground. Looking at the fallen body, Long Yue finishes with contempt. What a shame, you simply were not prepared. The bald security guard leads Yu Jun to an ornate door, indicating that this is the place and asking him to enter. Cautiously, Yu Jun steps into the hall. Upon entering, a voice declares reverently, the mighty one who completed the underworld trial, the owner of the SSS grade fair and direct talent, the assassin Yu Jun. Thank you very much for coming to meet with me. Suspicious, Yu Jun demands to know who that person is. A voice from across the luxurious room responds provocatively, asking if he really wants to know. A large blonde man dressed in golden robes is revealed sitting on an imposing throne. He introduces himself. He is the vice director of the Temple of Divine Revelation, the wielder of the SSS-RANK talent Arcane Deconstruction, and the grandson of the legendary Blazing Calamity, Jai Ryuxu. His name is Jai Xiaoyu. Excited, he declares that he wants to invest in Yu Jun. He continues ambitiously, saying he wants to help Yu Jun surpass Director Zhu Ji himself. That way, he could finally surpass his grandfather and become the strongest mage of all. Watching the scene, Yu Jun reflects, trying to understand the situation. The man introduces himself as the grandson of the temple's vice director and says he wants to invest in him. Jai Xiaoyu holds out a card explaining that it contains 100 million, merely the initial investment, which can be used to upgrade equipment and strengthen his own abilities. Suspicious, Yu Jun directly asks why he sought him out. The imposing shadow of Zhu Ji looms behind him as he philosophically asks whether Yu Jun has ever felt what it is like to live forever in someone else's shadow, with the feeling of never having his own moment to shine. He declares with determination that he swears he will surpass his grandfather and make everyone know his name. Still suspicious, Yu Jun questions why he chose this exact moment and this method to meet him. Jai Xiaoyu holds out a tablet, asking him to take a look first. Curious, Yu Jun takes the device, asking what it is about. The screen reveals the image of a familiar man. That old man is the one plotting against him, the leader of the sacred Pegasus Guild, Long Yue. Jai Xiaoyu explains that the reason he sought him out at this exact moment was so he wouldn't miss the opportunity to demonstrate his sincerity. Analyzing the situation, Yu Jun thinks calculatingly that he will string the man along for a while and use him as his personal ATM, deciding what to do next after becoming stronger. Smiling, he decides to test how far he can go, stating that if Jai Xiaoyu truly wants to invest in him, that amount is nowhere near enough. Jai Xiaoyu lets out an excited laugh, saying there is no problem at all. Since he's about to enter the beginner dungeon anyway, he will buy Yu Jun's 3 level 5 purple items for 150 million, exactly the market price. Calculating, Yu Jun thinks that if he is this generous, there must still be more to squeeze out of him. Aloud, he simply replies that it isn't enough. Jai Xiaoyu offers even more, promising to buy any excess equipment he has for 30% above market price, assuring him that this is his greatest demonstration of sincerity and that there is no need to test him any further. Yu Zhen reconsiders, could he really just be a naive rich kid? He decides to watch him more carefully for now, thinking that if he truly is trustworthy it might be worth working together. Aloud, he simply agrees cautiously. He transfers the items through a magic circle, confirming that everything now belongs to Jai Xiaoyu and asks for the money to be transferred to the card he already received. Preparing to leave, Yu Zhen says goodbye. Jai Xiaoyu calls him back, urgently calling his name. He warns him seriously, no one is going to let a potential ace like him simply walk away. Yu Zhen has to choose a side or he will be eliminated. He urges Yu Zhen to wake up to reality. There is no choice in this situation. Standing at the door, Yu Zhen smiles, sarcastically questioning whether there really is no choice at all. Once he becomes strong enough, they will be the ones who have to choose a side, not the other way around. The scene shifts to the Life Class Service Center. Yu Zhen reflects that it is possible to unlock a life class starting at level 15, and since he is already level 16, he might as well take care of it right there. However, he considers that he needs to carefully choose which life class to pursue. A panel explains the Potion Alchemist option, capable of preparing potions that restore mana and health, as well as providing various special effects. Another displays the Blacksmith, capable of forging or upgrading equipment, as well as creating unique items. A third presents the Enhancer, capable of improving equipment, granting comprehensive increases to its attributes. The fourth shows the Cook, capable of preparing dishes that accelerate a professional's leveling speed. Reflecting on the options, Yu Zhen concludes that he does not need the effects offered by alchemists and cooks, and that considering the equipment he already obtained from the Underworld trial, a blacksmith would not be very useful in the short term either. He concludes then that only one answer remains. He approaches a service counter where an employee politely greets him. He declares that he wants to change his life class to Enhancer. She confirms the request but warns him that she needs to inform him of some important details before proceeding. She explains that the success rate when upgrading equipment is directly linked to the Enhancer's skill level, and that leveling up these skills can be very expensive. Yu Zhen confirms that he already knows this and asks her to proceed with changing his class to Enhancer. She agrees, asking him to remain still and not move while a glowing magic circle begins forming beneath his feet, catching him by surprise. A message confirms, "Congratulations on becoming an Enhancer, current level 1. A blonde employee approaches, asking if he would like to rent one of the enhancement rooms. Curious, Yu Zhen asks what it is for. She explains that it is a premium enhancement room that provides an area bonus capable of increasing the success rate by 40%. She adds that the premium magic circle inside the room also protects the user's valuable equipment, even if the enhancement fails. The rental fee is 10,000 coins per hour, she informs him, asking if he is interested. Yu Zhen agrees, asking to rent it for 2 hours initially and charge it to the card. He presents his equipment, explaining that it is the 3-piece epic underworld set carefully chosen after completing the trial. He declares that as long as he can upgrade it to level 10, it should last for quite a long time. Determined, he begins the process, activating the enhancement. A sequence of messages confirms consecutive successes, enhancement successful, level +1 over and over again. The final equipment proves to be powerful. The Underworld Psy Blade at level 10, granting more than 1,000 physical attack points and devastating abilities capable of ignoring defenses and intimidating enemies. The Underworld Armor, also at level 10, with more than 2,000 health points and automatic protection effects in combat. And the accessory, the Deep Embrace of the Underworld, which through sheer luck reached level 14 far beyond expectations, granting extremely high physical and magical defenses along with life conversion and recovery effects. Ecstatic, Yu Zhen celebrates, this is a true gift from the heavens. Not only did everything reach level 10, but his luck was completely off the charts with the accessory, reaching level 14. Confident, he smiles, feeling practically invincible now. At dusk, in front of Shenbei School, he calls out to his sister, Yu Ning. She turns around, surprised to hear her brother's voice. Leaning against an elegant car, he waves, calling her over. Shocked, she asks why her brother suddenly came to pick her up. He opens the car door, asking her to get in and saying that he has something important to tell her. Worried, she asks half-jokingly if he made enemies and whether they are running from some kind of pursuit. Ruffling her hair, he assures her that it is nothing like that, her brother has no enemies. Smiling mysteriously, he simply says that she will understand once they reach their destination. Yuning's face lights up with curiosity and anticipation, her eyes shining with excitement. Standing before the enormous house, Yu Ning lets out a surprised cry, amazed by the size of the place. Yu Zhen holds out the keys, saying that this is now their new home. Emotional, she asks how he managed to do this. Amazed by the achievement, she laughs, saying that the house is truly incredible. In silence, he makes an inner promise to Yu Ning. Excited, she runs around exploring every detail, exclaiming about how advanced everything is. Meanwhile, Yu Zhen's silent vow continues to take shape in his mind. He promises himself that he will become even stronger, strong enough that no one will ever dare threaten them again. The next morning, the beautiful White House reflects the first rays of sunlight. Yu Ning walks out the door, hurriedly saying goodbye and announcing that she is going to school. In the kitchen, still wearing his apron, Yu Zhen says goodbye, asking her to be careful on the way. As soon as she leaves, he hangs the apron on the hook, reflecting that with Yuning at school, it is time to prepare for the day's Secret Realm challenge. Sitting in front of the computer, he begins planning his journey. Shortly afterward, he enters an imposing building, reflecting that the class holder forum is filled with Secret Realm guides published by various guilds. Looking at the advertising panels around him, he notices that all the advertisements have been reviewed by the Temple of Divine Revelation, ensuring the reliability of the information. Eye-catching posters promise high profits and rewards for those who join certain guilds. He selects a destination on the panel, Crimson Capital, 2nd floor, Gate 17. Carefully considering all the options, he concludes that Crimson Capital, which allows him to leave at any time without prior notice, is clearly the one that best suits his needs. He heads toward the elevator, thinking that unless absolutely necessary, he does not want to make Yuning worry again. Outside the elevator, an attendant politely welcomes him, informing him that the entrances to the secret realms on the 2nd floor are arranged counterclockwise and wishing him good luck in battle. He walks down a long corridor. Moving between the golden columns and glowing portals of each entrance, he continues searching for the correct number. Finally, he spots what he was looking for. Surprised, he has found Gate 17, marked with the emblem of a crimson dragon. Before the imposing portal, a sign confirms, Secret Realm number 17, Crimson Capital. An employee approaches, calling Yuzhan Kid, and asks if he intends to enter the Secret Realm. He asks whether Yuzhan has already signed a contract with their guild. Confused, Yuzhan asks what this contract is about. The man mocks him, calling him yet another uninformed rookie. He explains disdainfully, the Red Dragon Guild has progressed the furthest in that secret realm, and therefore Crimson Capital is under their administration. He holds out a document demanding that Yuzhan sign it if he wants to enter. Surprised, Yuzhan cannot believe what he sees. The terms of the contract are abusive. The other party would have to hand over 90% of everything they obtained inside the secret realm to the guild, while they could only keep equipment and items by paying their market value in cash. Indignant, Yuzhan questions what kind of predatory contract this is. Furious, he tears up the paper, declaring that he will never sign it. He shouts, calling the contract absurd and completely one-sided. The employee provokes him, saying that a rookie is still a rookie, suggesting that he complain to the Temple of Divine Revelation if he doesn't like it and see whose side they will take. He also threatens him if he doesn't have the guts, he should get lost. Furious, Yuzhan glares at the man, about to retaliate. At that moment, a new voice interrupts the argument, asking what is happening at the entrance to the Red Dragon Guild's secret realm. The subordinate explains to the newcomer that young man wants to enter but refuses to sign the contract. Zhou Minjiang, the guild's vice leader, curiously asks whether Yuzhan intends to challenge Crimson Capital alone. He mocks him, comparing Yuzhan to the newly classified talent, saying that compared to him, Yuzhan is nothing. Internally, Yuzhan panics. He cannot let them associate him with just an upright. The consequences would be disastrous. Quickly, he decides to resort to the dramatic persona he created earlier. Raising his voice, he declares himself a powerful assassin who single-handedly defeated a flaming demon rhinoceros, claiming that with a good secret realm guide, he does not need weak companions getting in his way. A title shines before him, Molten Warrior. Zhou Minjiang mocks him, calling him nothing more than a high-damage assassin, questioning whether he really thinks every secret realm is as easy as a beginner dungeon. He threatens him, if the kid does not sign the contract that day, he can forget about ever entering Crimson Capital. Yuzhan protests, demanding to know what gives them the right since their guild does not own that secret realm. Zhou Minjiang arrogantly explains that according to the rules of the Temple of Divine Revelation itself, the Red Dragon Guild has progressed the furthest in Crimson Capital, which automatically makes them the official administrators of the place. Furious, Yuzhan threatens to register his own guild right there and surpass them. Zhou Minjiang laughs mockingly, telling him to go ahead. Failing a challenge for administration rights would cost 10 million coins, and he sees no reason to stop someone so eager to hand over his own money. Pointing his finger angrily, Yuzhan shouts for him to wait and see what comes next. Reflecting, he thinks, since the Divine Revelation Temple grants guilds so many privileges, he might as well register his own and operate under its name. On the other side, Zhou Minjiang complains to his subordinates, saying he cannot stand those dramatic types who are always shouting about justice and fairness but refuse to follow a single rule. He orders one of the men to immediately kick that boy out the next time they see him. The subordinate agrees, praising the vice leader's wise decision. Zhou Minjiang then turns to his team, declaring that enough talking. This time he will personally lead the group in pursuit of a perfect achievement. Everyone responds in unison, obediently. Suddenly, an urgent notification interrupts everything, with a subordinate running toward him in a panic, shouting for the vice leader. Confused, Zhou Minjiang asks what is happening. An official notice materializes in the air. The Godslayer Guild has challenged the Red Dragon Guild for the administration rights to the Crimson Capital's secret realm. Everyone must wait until the challenge is completed before entering. Zhou Minjiang can barely believe what he is reading. That dramatic kid actually registered a guild. In a parallel scene, an employee hands Yuzhan a card, wondering where he got so much money. Yuzhan simply thanks her, receiving the card with a confident smile. He declares determinedly that today he will teach those leeches a lesson they will never forget, while an employee in the background politely bids him farewell. Back in Crimson Capital, furious, Jo Minjiang shouts that the brat has no idea what price must be paid for maliciously challenging the administration rights of a guild dungeon. Confidently, Yu Zhen declares that after today, Crimson City will belong to him. He turns toward the members of the Red Dragon Guild, warning them that they had better pack up and get out. Enraged, Jo Minjiang orders them to investigate everything about that boy, demanding that they discover his true identity. He declares with hatred that he wants to know who that bastard is and promises to kill him with his own hands. Ignoring the threats, Yu Zhen walks through the portal, finally entering the dungeon. A system notification appears. He inhaled a certain amount of crimson mist, raising his infection level to 1. He then receives the special status of resilience, with its ongoing effects still being detailed. A welcome message materializes. Welcome to the Crimson City dungeon. The rules are simple. All rewards inside the dungeon are settled in real time, and it is impossible to leave until the Merchant Guild's Nightmare event is completed. Silently, Yu Zhen observes his surroundings, reflecting that so far, everything corresponds exactly to what the dungeon guide described. Reflecting on the environment around him, Yu Zhen acknowledges that he does not know what kind of unexpected variables may arise from here on. Guys, check out this skin, what a handsome guy. His gaze falls upon a wooden sign, the crimson mist is your curse. Intrigued, he analyzes the message again, noticing that this detail was not mentioned in the guide. Could it be relevant information for achieving a perfect dungeon completion? Suddenly, a zombie creature appears in front of him, catching him by surprise. Without hesitation, he declares that he will worry about the puzzles later. For now, it is time to turn those monsters into experience. He introduces himself, activating his talent. His name is Yu Zhen, and he has come to kill everyone there. Just and straightforward activates. More creatures react to his declaration, alarmed. They charge forward in an uncontrolled horde, screaming as they approach. He reflects that it is exactly as the guide described. These creatures are extremely sensitive to sound. As soon as the noise becomes too loud, they attack in groups. He activates the Vigilant skill, and a protective shield instantly forms around him. The battle begins, and he immediately splits a zombie in half. His abilities come into action. Bloodthirst converts 20% of the damage dealt into self-healing, while Pure Earth transforms any excess healing into a temporary shield. The enemy data is revealed. Common Blood Corpse, level 15, 20,000 health points, 1,000 physical attack, and 300 physical and magical defense. He reflects that with his current attributes, he does not even need to worry about defending himself against that cannon fodder. Thanks to the Deep Embrace effect, which restores health whenever the damage received is lower than his corresponding defense, he recognizes with satisfaction that after upgrading his equipment, his physical and magical defenses have reached an impressive 2,636 points. Those creatures, he thinks, are basically walking blood bags for him. He continues, reflecting that if he did not need to eliminate all the monsters there to progress through the story, he would love to simply gather the entire horde and clear them all at once. With a wide and fluid strike, he cuts through more enemies, the battle progressing at an intense pace. The bodies release a cloud of colorful blue and green energy. He collects the glowing fragments, reflecting that the blood mist crystals produced in this dungeon are essential ingredients for various potions and are always scarce on the market. Gathering a good amount could earn him a considerable sum. He approaches a door, a bell ringing softly as he opens it. Inside, an elderly woman warmly welcomes him, commenting that it has been a long time since his last visit. She offers him a bowl, inviting him to try the water from the well in her backyard, sweet as few others. Reflecting, Yu Zhen remembers that the guide mentions this bowl as the only item in the dungeon capable of reducing the infection level. He remains silent, deep in thought. Even so, he is suspicious. No matter how much he analyzes the situation, there is something strange about this place. The old woman insists once more, offering the bowl and asking him to try it, assuring him that it is delicious. Suspicious, Yu Zhen reflects, in such a dangerous place, with the entire city shrouded in crimson mist and blood corpses everywhere, how could a helpless old woman like her survive there alone? He continues skeptically. Is it really just because of this bowl of water which reduces infection by 20 points? That simply does not make sense. He directly asks why she still remains there. She replies, distracted by her knitting, saying that she only wants to finish knitting a sweater for that poor child, extending the bowl toward him once again. Intrigued, he asks which child she is talking about. She continues, her voice choked with sadness, asking what such a smart and kind child could have done wrong to deserve death, repeating the question several times, lost in her own grief. Realizing that he will not be able to extract any more information from the conversation, Yu Zhen decides to end it there. Walking toward the door, he reflects. The Red Dragon Guild clearly completed the dungeon with 100% progress but never achieved a perfect achievement. Most likely the reason is precisely that bowl of water. Behind him, the old woman insists worriedly, warning him that it is dangerous outside and asking him to drink some before leaving. Firmly, he refuses internally, swearing that he will not drink that thing under any circumstances. Walking through the streets, he assesses the terrain. The path ahead is the one he has already traveled, and the left side is blocked by enormous rocks. Only the path to the right is passable, exactly as the guide described. He reflects that this dungeon seems to have been deliberately designed as a linear experience. He recognizes that the abnormal effects caused by the crimson mist infection do not have much of an impact on him. A message confirms. He inhaled more mist, raising his infection level to 10, now suffering a 10% reduction in physical and magical attack. Even so, he reflects, uncertain whether the perfect achievement of this dungeon is actually related to the infection level. He arrives before an imposing building, identified as the Merchant Guild's nightmare. He cautiously opens the door. Suddenly, a zombie guardian attacks without warning, roaring furiously. He reacts, caught off guard. The enemy data is revealed. Guardian Blood Corpse, level 20, 30,000 health points, 800 mana, 1,500 physical attack, and 400 physical and magical defense. His protective abilities activate automatically. Deep Embrace restores health, and Pure Earth converts the excess into a shield. He reflects that to avoid any unforeseen circumstances, it is better to end the fight quickly. He introduces himself once again, shouting so that anyone there can hear. His name is Yu Jun, and he has come to kill them all. More creatures react to his declaration, and a much larger armored commander emerges among the Guardians, alarmed by the intrusion. Breathing heavily, Yu Jun humorously reflects that his talent is becoming quite tiring for his throat. Maybe he should carry a megaphone from now on. He coughs, tired from shouting so much. Even I can't take it anymore, constantly saying the name of the skill. This system is crazy. Amid the battle, Yu Jun delivers a powerful strike, cutting the enemy in half with his blade. A spectral voice echoes from a pale, almost transparent figure. That man was a lunatic. The voice continues in anguish, revealing that he beat his own wife to death with a hammer. And it adds regretfully, perhaps they should not have judged him that way. Yu Jun listens in silence, absorbing the strange revelation. Coldly, he simply replies that it was their mistake, refusing to be shaken by the scene. He picks up an item from the ground, muttering that he has no idea what those voices are babbling about and that none of it makes sense to him. More enemies approach, wielding rusty scythes, announcing that now it is his turn. A few minutes later, he arrives at the back entrance of the Merchant Guild. He continues advancing, eliminating more enemies and collecting the mist crystals scattered along the way. Observing the horizon, he declares that it is time to cause some trouble for the final boss of the dungeon. Standing before an imposing building, he reveals his plan. He has just registered a guild and is challenging that dungeon under the name God Slayer. He reflects that as long as he can achieve a perfect completion, the challenge will be considered successful. That way, he can snatch the administration rights to the dungeon from that unfortunate Zhou Minjiang. He smiles maliciously, thinking that just imagining Zhou Minjiang's face contorting with rage when everything is over already makes him feel much better. Reflecting on his progress so far, he summarizes the situation. He has already effortlessly completed the Chaos District mentioned in the guide, as well as the areas of the Terror Merchant Guild. He raises an item he picked up, confirming that he also obtained the key item needed to leave the dungeon, taken from the body of the guard captain. He remembers, looking at the bowl of water he refused to drink. Since he did not accept the old woman's offer, his corruption accumulation is somewhat high now, but since the effect only reduces his attack power, it practically makes no difference to him. Determined, he advances toward the final zone of the dungeon. More blood corpses appear around him, and he observes that they have exactly the same attributes as the previous ones. Their attack is lower than his defense, so all they can do is recharge his shields. A monstrous boss is revealed, suspended in the air. The Heavy Hammer Blood Corpse King, level 25, with 80,000 health points, 3,000 physical attack, and 700 physical and magical defense. Its abilities are terrifying. Upon appearing, it enrages all nearby blood corpses, doubling their attacks, and gains additional health for each nearby corpse, in addition to hammer strikes capable of dealing area damage to all targets within its range. Confidently, Yu Jun reflects that even with the rage bonus granted by the boss, none of them have any chance against his enormous 2,636 physical and magical defense. Without hesitation, he advances, deliberately stepping toward the final zone of the dungeon. Suddenly, more creatures awaken around him, their red eyes glowing in the darkness. Yu Jun recognizes the pattern. Exactly as the guide described, the moment someone steps into that plaza, all the blood corpses become enraged and surround the intruder. His protective abilities activate automatically, the shield strengthening with every passing moment. Without hesitation, he introduces himself once again, declaring his name and his intention to exterminate them all. With a wide, luminous strike, he cuts through the entire horde in a single fluid movement. He calmly reflects that those corpses are not much of a threat, but the boss will still take 5 minutes to awaken. Taking advantage of the free time, he decides to eliminate as many as possible to accumulate extra experience. A few minutes later, satisfied, he confirms that he has finally killed them all. But something bothers him. Why aren't the bodies disappearing as usual? The sky becomes stained with a bloody red and he reacts, alarmed by the sudden change. A deep groan echoes from a zombie surrounded by a red aura. A dark and powerful voice resonates throughout the square, announcing that everyone will eventually be devoured by the curse. Gigantic, muscular creature emerges, its red eyes glowing with fury, destroying everything around it as it charges straight toward Yu Jun. Flaming spirits of red energy swirl around him, alarming him with the intensity of the threat. The dark voice repeats the warning, he too will be devoured by the curse. A massive war hammer materializes from the crackling red energy. Smirking arrogantly, Yu Jun reflects that he had been wondering why the Heavy Hammer Blood Corpse King had no visible hammer. He smiles, confirming that the weapon had been hidden there all along. The gigantic creature roars, declaring that he will die, and it charges at the protagonist with all its might. Raising his blade, Yuzhan declares to the heavy hammer Blood Corpse King that today he himself will put an end to its existence. The just and straightforward talent activates. The creature roars, ordering him to die, bringing the colossal hammer down with all its strength. Yuzhan quickly activates his shadow punishment skill. Suddenly, the hammer stops just a few centimeters from Zhen's face. The creature reacts in shock, and suddenly it is sliced into several pieces. The system confirms the victory. Congratulations on demonstrating your divine power in the Crimson City. He has defeated the level 25 Heavy Hammer Blood Corpse King, gaining 10,000 experience points. His level rises to 18. Satisfied, he smiles, commenting that he barely paid attention during the fight, and yet he has already gained 2 levels. An item catches his attention, the Crimson Assault Helmet, a powerful piece of equipment originating from the Crimson City itself, infused with cursed power. It grants additional physical attack and health, along with powerful effects that can deal bonus damage based on the target's lost health at the cost of half the user's own health. He reflects that the attributes are very good and that it should sell for a good amount of money. Another item is revealed, an Enhancement Protection Talisman, capable of ensuring that the enhancement level does not decrease even if the attempt fails. Excited, he recognizes that it is an extremely valuable item and that he will definitely keep this one for himself. Reflecting on everything he has gained, he calculates that with 2 additional levels and the huge amount of items and equipment left behind by the boss, he can easily make more than 10 million just from this dungeon. He wonders, considering that he eliminated all the monsters so quickly, shouldn't that already count as a perfect achievement? A system notification appears, asking whether he wants to use the guard captain's badge to leave the Crimson City now. Alarmed, he asks for a moment to think. He remembers that when he completed the Underworld trial, the Divine Revelation game immediately opened an exit portal. And as soon as he claimed all the rewards, the game teleported him outside without hesitation. Reflecting on it, he concludes, if the basic mechanic is the same for all dungeons, doesn't that mean this one hasn't actually ended yet? He recalls the figure hanging from the gallows that he saw earlier, pondering that throughout the entire dungeon, the boss in that square is the only one who uses a hammer. And since he was hanged there, he must be exactly the man the guard captain was talking about. But he questions it, morally troubled. That man was a bastard who murdered his own wife. Why wouldn't he deserve to be judged? Unless, he reconsidered, searching the body for clues, he finds something, a small hidden object. A pocket watch opens, revealing a photograph of a smiling, happy couple. Shocked, he realizes, unless the person they judged wasn't this man. But the child, thinking deeply, he connects the pieces. The key to the perfect achievement can only be inside that old woman's little shop. Reflecting on the recent battle, Yuzhan acknowledges that the final boss of Blood City mentioned in the guides, the Heavy Hammer Blood Corpse King, has already been defeated by him. But he ponders seriously that he doesn't believe that was actually the true boss of this dungeon. Staring at the mysterious shop's door, he concludes that the truth behind everything must be hidden inside. Determined, he moves forward, declaring that it is time to uncover the complete mystery of this dungeon. Upon entering, he finds the environment completely transformed, dark, dusty, and abandoned. Surprised, he realizes that the place has changed completely. This really must be the key to the perfect achievement. Then he notices a bowl on the floor, strangely familiar. A memory comes to mind, the old woman offering him water. He remembers exclaiming, "That's it, the water from the well in the back." He quickly runs toward the back of the house, determined to check. He opens a door. Arriving in the backyard, he spots the object he was looking for. There is the well. He picks up a stone from the ground. Looking into the dark well, he drops it. The sound of a dull thud echoes from below. He concludes in surprise there is no water down there. It is a completely dry well. He stops, puzzled, questioning, then where did the water in the bowl the old woman offered earlier come from? Determined, he declares that it is time to go down and see with his own eyes, jumping directly into the well. He lands at the bottom, alert. Confirming his theory, he mutters. It was exactly as he imagined, discovering a secret passage hidden down there. He moves through an underground corridor surrounded by an ominous red mist. Suddenly, blue energy crystals shatter around him, reacting to his presence and warning him of something ahead. Amid a sea of red blood, a coffin floats alone, with a child's spirit sitting on top of the lid, staring at Yuzhan as he approaches from below. Confused, he asks who that child is. The child curiously asks how he knew that something was wrong with this place. Yuzhan explains, the antidote is usually found very close to the nest of a venomous snake, and the well water was the only thing there capable of curing the infection. The spirit calmly replies, I see. He slowly rises to his feet on top of the coffin. Sadly, he murmurs that it seems that once again he failed to let his mother rest in peace. Surrounded by flames that begin to ignite around him, he declares threateningly, if Yuzhan intends to destroy the peace that he and his mother now share. Alarmed, Yuzhan reacts to the sudden transformation. The child completely transforms into a flaming entity, screaming that he will pay for it with his own life. Its stats are revealed. Blood Demon Child, level 25, 120,000 health, 10,000 mana, 3,000 physical and magical attack, 1,000 physical and magical defense. Its abilities are terrifying: instant health recovery, complete conversion of damage dealt into self-healing, and increasing defense as its health decreases. A massive attack strikes Yuzhan head-on. An alarming message appears. He has been corrupted by an enormous wave of blood-red power, raising his infection level to 89 and suffering a devastating 89% reduction to his physical and magical attack. Furious, he curses, that shameless boss doesn't even pretend to fight fairly. The child coldly declares, in 6 minutes his blood mist will completely corrupt him, transforming him into nothing more than another blood corpse in that city, condemned to never leave. Despite the danger, Yu Jun reflects with relief. Luckily, he rushed through the earlier stages of the dungeon and didn't accumulate that much infection. If not for that, that single attack would have been enough to kill him instantly. The child opens a portal, offering him one final chance. He can leave that place now. This would be the only opportunity he would be given. Sighing, Yu Jun confidently raises his dagger, taunting, "You're pretty arrogant for a child." Furious, the entity declares, since he has chosen death, then let him remain there forever. Even in the face of danger, Yu Jun remains calm, reflecting. He admits that under normal circumstances, killing it in just 6 minutes would be absolutely impossible. However, raising his blade, he activates his talent, formally introducing himself. His name is Yu Jun and he has come to kill it. Honorable activates. The demonic child screams furiously that he brought this upon himself, charging at him with all its flaming fury. The child screams, ordering him to die. Yu Jun's defensive abilities activate repeatedly. Deep Embrace restoring his health and Pure Land strengthening his shield with every impact. Calmly he explains, it's useless. Its attack is only 3,000 points. Under the effect of his equipment's conversion, that damage is divided into 2,400 and 600 points, while his own defense reaches 2,636 points. He continues confidently, that means it is literally incapable of killing him. Defiantly, the child screams that it doesn't matter, he won't be able to kill it either. In the end, the blood mist will corrupt him, and he will become nothing more than another puppet under its control. Calmly, Yu Jun reflects that he can more or less imagine what happened there. He approaches, gently placing his hand on the child's head, murmuring, "Your past must have been so agonizing that it made a child hate an entire city like that." The spirit remains silent, unable to respond. He continues, pulling the child into a gentle embrace, "But whatever you went through, it happened a long time ago. However, you should already be dead." Tenderly, Yu Jun raises his blade and delivers the final blow, whispering that it is time to let go of all that hatred and finally rest. With a single decisive slash, he ends the eternal suffering of that lost soul. Far away, inside the imposing office of the Red Dragon Guild, a subordinate rushes in, panicking, shouting that the rankings have just changed. Zhou Minjiang reacts in alarm to the news. The ranking panel appears before them. In first place, the God Slayer Guild, with a perfect achievement completed in just 4 hours and 20 minutes. In second place, the Red Dragon Guild, with only 100% progress, taking more than twice as long, 8 hours and 24 minutes. Zhou Minjiang stares at the panel, completely stunned, unable to believe how this could have happened. Well, we've reached the end of another video. Leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. Comment what you thought of this story. See you next time.